Only she can plot against Deetsang. Little Rice was speechless here. For some reason, he feels like the situation had exceeded his imagination. Inside an antiquely ordained bedroom, a man punishingly tosses his prize onto the bed and then firmly pressed down with his body. That voice low and fierce, "You going to keep lying to me? Now that the evidence is conclusive, I like to see how this woman will keep justifying herself." That's when Bai Yan broke out into a laughing fit after hearing that remark. Then all of a sudden, she hooked her arms around the man's neck and smothered her lips against his. As the heat between their skin and flesh intermingled together, something else occurred on the male end, and it's not the good kind. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. It's boiling, it's erupting, it's absolutely screaming for release. Unable to resist the urge anymore, Deetsang moved in, pulling that waist ever so close so that he can deepen that kiss and the impending act of their merger. Yen, the man's voice was dry and husky here, while those affectionate eyes were so full of desire that no woman can possibly mistake them for anything else. You're asking for it. At this moment, there's only one thought running through his mind, and that was to devour this woman before him. Unfortunately for him, due to his urgency for relief, Deetsang had lost track of his usual keenness and didn't notice that sharp gaze from the woman. Those lips are simply too intoxicating. No matter how much he pressed in against them, it's never enough. Just that. When he's at the peak of his enjoyment, Deetsang suddenly noticed something from that smiling face. Pricking his brow, he asked, "What did you do to me? Didn't you say you want to sleep with me?" Breaking free from her imprisonment, she first organized her messy hair before continuing, "So, I secretly wiped some poison on my lips. The toxin will make you impotent for the next 3 months." Going dark in the face, Deetsang's throat became very dry as he watched those ever so juicy lips bounce around. "You planned this the whole time?" In his entire life, he had never fallen for another's trap, the exception being only this woman. "This is not scheming, you know, it's self-defense." Smirking, Bai Yan's eye lit up. "I'm good at saving people, that's a definite. However, I'm also good at poisoning others too. After the first time you tried to force your way into me that night, I immediately came up with this idea. How is it, the taste of my specially concocted poison?" Deetsang's was already at a very critical stage when they were kissing, but due to the poison, he's getting no reaction down there after the first rise. Bai Yan. Gritting his teeth, "You are the first person to ever successfully plot against me. Therefore, I'm going to take back what I said about making you give me 10 sons." Bai Yan pricked her brow after hearing this. This guy is going to give up. Unfortunately, she thought too highly of him. Before the idea could come to an end, the man's angry voice came again. "You need to give me 10 sons and 10 daughters instead. New and old, whatever fault she has, he will get even with this woman all at once." Not minding that unrealistic remark, Bai Yan readily pulls the bed curtains down and used them to cover herself. Due to the transparency of those white coverings, it didn't help much in terms of shielding her body, rather, it's quite provocative in this case. "Oh beautiful." Bai Yan deviously raises a smirk. Then using those evil fingers, she pinched the man on the chin and leaned in against him. "You want to get back at me? Just so you know, it's not that easy, so you best give up." Feeling the woman's temperature again, Deetsang's breathing became heavier to the point his voice sounded rasp and harsh. "Bai Yan, if you keep teasing me then I won't mind using only my fingers to do the job." Nangong Yi's fury, Bai Yan became a bit awkward in her face. Subconsciously, she wanted to cover up her lips, which also drew the little guy's attention. Seeing the small cut again, Bai Xiaqin immediately became furious. "Did that big baddie bite you again?" "It's nothing." She became even more embarrassed and kneeled down to face the boy at an even level. "How can I explain this to my own baby?" Distress could be seen in the young boy's eye. "Is it still hurting?" "I will blow on it, then it won't hurt anymore." Using that tiny body of his, Bai Xiaqin tries to raise his body height by tiptoeing his feet. Then with that soft cuddly hand, he begins to gently stroke that cut while also blowing at it. Xiachen. Pulling the baby boy into her embrace, she changed her tone to a whispering one, do you want to meet your grandfather? This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Lighting up in the eye, the boy turned excited, can I? You've already been discovered by Ditsang now, no reason to keep hiding at this point. What's more, her voice paused for a moment, considering his personality, I doubt he will let anyone bully you. Watching this from the side, little Rice couldn't resist rolling his tiger eyes at the remark. Bullying this little ancestor? More like the other way around. When did anyone ever get to bully him? Mother, I love you. Printing that soft tiny lip onto his mother's face, Bai Xiachen made the most innocent and lovely smile a child can make. Mother, my grandfather will like me just like how uncle does, right? Making a small nod, she rubs the little guy on the head to give her answer, but there's no need to rush the meeting. I need to first think of a proper way to introduce you to them. Okay. Bai Xiachen gleefully cheered, I'm going to tell uncle this great news. Now I don't have to keep hiding. Looking at the little guy's excited little look, Bai Yan felt a bit guilty and sad inside because she's starting to doubt her decision from before. Maybe it was wrong to keep the boy hidden from the beginning. Have little Rice go with you. She smiled, knowing there won't be any danger that can come to harm so long as the baby tiger was by her son's side. Besides, the people she had arranged for protecting her brother was also there. Crown Prince Manor. Ever since Bai Ruo returned from the palace, her hands been itching from time to time. The feeling was like having tens of thousands of ants crawling on one's body, annoying her to no ends. Boom! Suddenly, a foot slammed the door open. Looking up in astonishment, Bai Ruo can only see her livid-looking husband coming inside. Husband? Getting up quickly, she moves forward to greet the man. Unfortunately for her, due to the man's presence, she can only suppress the urge to scratch her body at this moment. Bai Ruo. Nangong, you looked frightfully terrible, is it you who told my mother to pass on that decree? Surprised by the sudden outburst, she hurried to ask, what happened? You dare ask me what has happened? You know very well what sort of personality Bai Ji has, yet you still had my mother match her to Ditsang. Because of that decree, my father became furious and removed my mother's title as queen. Now she's stuck inside the cold palace and none is allowed to visit her. Clutching his fist heavily, Nangong Yi's voice was filled with flaming anger. Contrary to the enraged attitude of her husband, Bai Ruo on the other hand was rather calm inside. The main reason, she just learned none can meet her mother-in-law inside the cold palace. Husband, how can I possibly persuade mother to do something like that? Biting her lip, she puts on an aggrieved appearance like she's being wronged here. When I went to the palace before, me and mother ended up meeting Bai Yan outside in the garden. She openly claimed the title of crown princess belongs to her and that one day she will certainly take it back. That made mother furious, plus Lord Song is clearly fascinated with my sister, which is why the decree was sent out. Bai Xiachen goes to the Bai house, if anything else, we can sell this kid to another man as their XXXX toy. With that look, at the very least he's worth a Dan pill. Uncle. When Bai Xiachen, baby boy, heard those hollering words from the old granny, he immediately took on a shocked and frightened appearance. This old woman is so scary. She wouldn't be trying to sell me, right? Going soft in his eyes, Bai Xiao, brother, attempts to calm the boy. Don't worry, she doesn't have anything to do with you, so she has no grounds to try anything like that. Is that true? Wrinkling his cute little nose, but back when I was on the Holy Island, I saw a fox tricking a crow so that it could snatch the food right out of its mouth. The eyes it made is exactly like this woman, tricky and scheming. I'm scared. Old Madame Yu's face didn't look so well right now because she was constantly trying to suppress her urge to lash out at the boy. Don't worry, my tone was a little heavy there, but there's no way I would sell you. In the end you are still our blood. Through much difficulty, the shameless old woman finally manages an awkward smile that even a kid can see through it. Although the old granny went by the surname Yu, she had for many years considered herself a part of the Bai family, hence the reason why she could say such outlandish lies so smoothly. Moreover, don't you want to see your grandfather? Grandfather? Pinching his small little mouth in displeasure, that bad man wouldn't even get a doctor for my uncle when he's sick. Now this old woman actually wants me to go see him instead. Even if you won't recognize me as your great-grandmother, your grandfather is still your grandfather. That won't change no matter what. Now that you are here in the city, you must go meet him. If not, your mother's reputation will only get worse if the word spreads. The plan here was that she will first trick the foolish boy back into their home. Once that's done, they can do whatever they want afterwards. Little Xiaochen. Watching the scheming old woman in front of him, Bai Zhao's expression grew even darker. Let me bring you back to your mother. Contrary to what the young man expected, his nephew didn't follow him when he tried to pull him away. Blinking those naive-looking eyes, okay, I will go see my grandfather. Humph. That old baddie bullied mother, so this time I'm going to have a whack at him. Old Madame Yu was quite complacent in her devious smile here, but before she can get cocky over her lies, a series of persuading voices broke out from the onlooking crowd. Little one, you mustn't go with her to the Bai house, she already called you a wild child earlier. If you do, you will definitely suffer at their hands. 6 years ago the world had assumed old Madame Yu fainted on the street because of her good relationship with Bai Yan after she eloped with another man. But now, after witnessing the insulting words from this old woman here, the crowd can see that's clearly not the case. Furthermore, there's been word coming out from the palace since this morning that the sovereign prince was the one who forced his way onto Bai Yan back then. If that's the truth, then the story preached around by the Bai house wouldn't stand anymore. Clearly there are many details missing from the original story. Dear uncles and aunties, Bai Xiaochen politely made a bow to greet the good people. Back when my mother held the banquet at the lawn house, she had already dissolved any relationship she had with the Bai house. However, this old woman keeps on bothering me despite that fact, claiming I will humiliate my mother if I don't go with her. In order to not bring shame to my mother, I can only make a trip back with her to settle this for good. I'm his grandmother. Inside the private room, a waft of soothing fragrance could be picked up by the nose upon entry. This left Yu Rong very uncomfortable because she's accustomed to these types of settings. I have a child in my hand that looks very good, even better than those fairy boys from the stories. I can sell him to you. Lady Chu pricked her brow. Doesn't this Bai family only have one grandson? It can't be, she's daring enough to sell a child of the royal family. Madam Bai, as far as I know, there is only one grandchild in your family and that is the son of Crown Prince Nan Gongyi. Don't tell me you are planning to sell the royal grandson to our flower brothel? No, Yu Rong hurriedly shook her head. I still have another grandson. He is Bai Yan's son. I have here his portrait, so please have a look. After that, she immediately took out the rushed portrait and lay it out in front of the woman. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Although Lady Chu continues to keep up her smile while she did so, those eyes are clearly cold. Madam Bai, I heard that Bai Yan's mother is Lan Yue. If that's the case, you technically don't count as her mother, meaning you are not the child's grandmother. Do you even have the right to decide his fate? This woman is real bold. She actually has the audacity to sell mistress's own son. And of all the places they want to sell to, it's the flower brothel. Lady Chu, that's your misunderstanding. Making an assuring smile, Bai Yan's mother died early on, making me her mother now. If I want to sell my own grandson, then that's a matter of course. You can see that face too. The kid is definitely a 1 in 1,000. And if you still aren't satisfied, then you can even take Bai Yan along with him. For them both, I only have one condition. I want to see the head of the flower brothel, or even an elder or guardian will do too. Madam Bai, we have a rule here in the flower brothel. If anyone wishes to sell themselves to us, they must come in person and agree to the terms. Otherwise, we will never accept them. Slowly standing up, Lady Chu's voice became a tad colder than before. So, you can leave now. I will not break the rules for you. Lady Chu. Getting up from her seat immediately, Yu Rong looked very anxious in her eyes. This child is a stubborn one, so unless the flower brothel handles him. Someone come, send our customer away. After leaving behind this sentence, Lady Chu swiftly walked out of the private room and out the flower brothel. As soon as she did so, she made sure to keep an extra eye out for her own back to make sure none was tailing her. Determining it's safe, only then did she make her way to a certain old manor in the city. As Lady Fate would have it, she ends up bumping into the one she seeks right outside the gate, which was Hualuo, the head of the flower brothel. Lady Chu pays her greeting to head. She hurriedly made a small curtsy as a form of respect. Finding how rushed her subordinate was in coming over, Hualuo's brow inexplicably curled into a knot. You came to see me? Yes, head. Yu Rong visited me just now, and she also brought a portrait of the little master. In that second, Hualuo's face instantly went darkly cold, and then? Sell by Xiaoqin to the flower brothel? Just hearing this was enough to make her laugh from the hearts down. She asked to see you as payment, but I rejected her offer and came over right away to report this to you. Telling the truth, Lady Chu was still slightly huffing in her voice due to how fast she walked over here. Don't worry about it, just keep tabs on that shameless woman like before. If there's any movement, report it to me immediately. With the wisdom of the little master, the Bai family can forget about succeeding against him. Stunned by the instruction, Lady Chu started to grumble with a hint of discontent and sourness in her voice. Head, when can I stop doing this task? Dealing with that disgusting woman every day will make me go crazy at this rate. Since the day she got close to Yu Rong as per ordered, the disgusting woman had constantly tried to bridge a link between her Bai family and the flower brothel. After being annoyed more than 5 times a day, she in the end had to make up an excuse and say she's too low standing to achieve such a favor. Only like that did the pesky fly stop having wishful thoughts. Did I owe you a favor in my past life? Mother, blinking those babyish eyes, is it you who ordered Auntie Chu to go there? Stunned by the comment, Bai Xiao once again turned his gaze to the woman in question. Lady Chu is a member of the flower brothel, so why is Xiaoqin using the word order? Little Rice came back before and told me your intent, therefore I had your Auntie Chu go there to serve as the witness. Bai Yan then slightly wrinkled her brow, though you pulled it off beautifully this time, but I won't allow another risky attempt like this in the future. Do you understand me? Pinching his mouth to one side, Bai Xiaoqin looked a little unhappy. I only wanted the world to not misunderstand you. This translation is only hosted on Patranslation. Feeling the warmth flowing out from her heart, Bai Yan promptly wrapped the little steam bun up with her whole body to show how much she cared for him. But, tilting her small little head, Bai Xiaoqin questioningly asked, but did you also make the Qian family go too? Qian family? Narrowing her eyes, Bai Yan once again recalled that night where she had to flee from this place. What happened? How can the Qian family appear at the critical moment? Is it? All of a sudden, a certain handsome and overbearing face appeared in her mind, leaving Bai Yan in a momentary trance. Is he responsible for that? Must be him. Aside from him, no one in the kingdom can make the Qian family do that when they are also one of the 3 major families here. Sister. Making a complicated face, Bai Xiao sounded a little worried in his voice. How did you get acquainted with the flower brothel? What's more, why is the people from that place taking her orders? Bai Yan knew her brother would surely ask this question. Not hiding it from the boy, she makes a rarely seen cheeky smile. The flower brothel had been mine since a few years ago. This woman beside me is the head of the place, her name is called Hualuo. This was like an earth-rumbling explosion, leaving the boy speechless and lost for a proper response. Although the flower brothel can't be called a respectable organization, but its influence was on par with the royal family. Such a powerful entity now belongs to his sister. My sister. Even more importantly, Yu Rong actually want to sell his nephew to the flower brothel? So, Bai Yan slowly rose from her seat and gracefully walked towards her brother. Like I said before, even if you don't take the Bai house, I can still take down this country for you. Her promise will never be revoked. Bai Xiao didn't respond to her sister's comment. Looking down at the ground, that handsome face was shrouded in gloom. Then, after a long while of seemingly forever, he looks up again like he's made his decision. Yours is yours. As a man, it's my duty to hold up the sky. Not to mention, he pauses, then firmly said the rest. The current Bai house only reached its current state thanks to mother. I cannot let her efforts fall into waste. Sister is already strong enough, that means I only need to become stronger to protect her in the future. Sister. Gently hugging his sister, Bai Xiao smiles at her in a reassuring manner. Don't worry about me, I will not be in danger. No matter what happens, I am still the only male in the Bai house. That man will not be too excessive with me. Seeing her brother being so insistent, Bai Yan can only relent and let the boy do as he wishes. Besides, she already stationed her people around to protect him in secret. There's nothing to worry about. If you need anything then you must come find me. Patting the boy's shoulder, she sounded demanding. Xiao, you are my one and only brother, remember that. Happily nodding at her sister's attitude, Bai Xiao smiled back. Sister, I feel like I must have owed you a favor in my past life, that's why we are siblings in this life. It's so that I can thank you in the future and be by your side. Sister, I'm sorry I didn't believe in you back then and even blamed you for leaving. From now on, I will never let that happen again. True affection. 1. The royal family will take charge in searching for her if she's missing, it has nothing to do with us. Stretching lazily from her bed, brother, go find Xiaqin and I'll take him to our grandparents' place later. The incident from last night will surely raise the awareness of the Lan family, so explaining her son's existence wouldn't be difficult. Sister, have you finally decided to let Xiaqin meet them? Bai Zhao's expression looked very excited, even more so than the matter regarding the queen's disappearance. Nodding to confirm her answer, then I'll go find him now to tell him this good news. This translation is only translation. Bai Xiaqin's greatest hope was to get the family's recognition. If he were to learn that he's able to come out in the open, it's certain that he will be very excited. As such, Bai Xiao immediately ran out of the room after saying this sentence, leaving only the somewhat dazed Bai Yan in the background. At the moment, Bai Xiaqin was nestling in the Wang family's estate. With a pig trotter in hand, his mouth was full of grease. How is it? Isn't my mother's cooking awesome? I robbed it from little rice. Considering how proud he looks, one will surely take it as a form of gloating over her mother's awesomeness. Xiaqin, didn't you say you are going to leave? Stuffed with meat in his big fat mouth, Wang Xiaopeng, chubby, could barely make his words audible. Pinching his mouth to the side, the boy sounded displeased in his voice. Don't remind me. Just when I was about to leave, the big baddie caught me. Fortunately though, I don't have to hide anymore because of that. Blinking his big baby eyes, he used a baiting tone to continue his words. Let me tell you a secret, I also ran off to find that bad woman to get revenge. Then does that mean you won't have to leave? That's awesome then. Taking another bite from the pig trotter, Wang Xiaopeng appeared quite excited at the news. To tell you the truth, I was going to miss you a lot. Miss me? Who was the one who completely tossed me aside over some sugar beans the other day? There's clearly still a hint of grudge over his friend's treatment from yesterday. Xiaqin. Suddenly, a call for him came from the outside. Uncle is calling for me now. Jumping up from the chair, he first wiped the grease from his mouth before turning back to his friends. Xiaopeng, chubby, Xiaptang, little sister, I am very happy to have met you too. Let's be good friends for a lifetime. Now that he doesn't need to be sent back, it also means he no longer have to worry about leaving behind these newfound friends of his. At no time before this had he been happier. Blinking his chubby eyes, Wang Xiaopeng also felt happy over his friend's situation as he watched that disappearing back. After leaving the Wang family's home, Bai Xiachen immediately saw a young boy quietly standing to the side of the road. Delighted by the sight, he quickly trotted over with his tiny legs and jumped into those arms. "Uncle, before I only had mother and my grandchiefess, oh yes, there's also godfather and sister Chu. But now I got so many family and friends, I'm so happy." Poor little Rice, the boy manages to mention everyone but him. Xiachen. Aching inside, Bai Xiao gently caresses that tiny head with warmth. "In the future, the number of people around you will only grow more and more." "Really?" Bai Xiachen's eyes were very bright, brighter than the very stars in the night. "However, the most important person in my heart is still mother." Breaking out into a laugh, Bai Xiao was truly touched by the little guy's affection towards his mother. Dan Pill Gifting Conference, you also prepared a gift? Old Madame Lan was a little surprised there. "You child, it's already good enough that you brought Xiachen here, why the gifts?" She looks at Bai Yan in a reproaching manner. "Grandmother, there's a special meaning to this gift. As it so happens, they are exactly what the family needs in these times." Making a warm smile, she continues with a hint of mystique, "Son, bring out the gifts you prepared." Gleefully getting off from his great-grandfather's embrace, Bai Xiachen then brought out several porcelain bottles to hand it over to his mother. From the batch, Bai Yan first picked out a bottle for the quiet Lan Xiaoyun, girl cousin, standing to the side. "Xiaoyun, why are you so quiet today?" "Huh?" Hearing the familiar voice, the quiet girl quickly regained her strength and became a little embarrassed. "I was at the criminal division earlier because Lord Sung gave me permission, that's when I saw how miserable Bai Ji was. So I was just thinking how I should go add fuel to the fire on my second visit." This translation is only hosted on Patranslation. It's pretty obvious at this point her hatred for the other girl had penetrated straight into her bones. In particular was after last night where she learned of Yu Rong's horrible deeds from back then. Selling her cousin. Want to burn her cute nephew? With that sort of grudge, how can she not go make trouble for her enemy in the prison cell? Only a fool wouldn't. "You don't have to worry about Bai Ji for now." Bai Yan then hands the selected bottle to her younger cousin. "This here is a second-grade genuine spiritual pill. I can see your cultivation is already at the peak of the yellow rank. With it, you are sure to break through your bottleneck." Troubled in the face, Lan Xiaoyun sounded hesitant in her voice. "This is Dan Pill? It's for me." In recent days, the girl had indeed reached a bottleneck in her cultivation, hence the reason why old Lord Lan was planning to purchase a Dan Pill for her breakthrough in the coming days. However, he didn't expect Bai Yan to deliver it in such a timely manner. Bai Yan ignored her cousin's surprised look, instead she shifted her gaze over to her big cousins Lan Xiaoling, biggest, and Lan Xiaoyan, second, cousins. "I know your strength is already at the earth class level, so a second-grade Dan Pill will be useless for you too. Therefore, I prepared these third-grade Great Spirit Pills instead. Though they cannot directly help you two make a breakthrough, but the effects will slowly come through." This. Now both men were stunned by this. Watching the bottles directed at themselves, neither could bring their hands to accept the gift. Each bottle has more than a dozen in there, more than enough for a good while. "Uncles," Bai Xiachen innocently giggled. "Hurry and take these sugar beans. If anything, I can just eat less snacks in the next while." Amused by the comment, Lan Yu makes a gentle pinch at the little guy's cheek. "Your mother is trying to give us Dan Pills, what does that have to do with your snacks?" Tilting his head, Bai Xiachen answered honestly without thinking it through, "Because these are my snacks. Little Rice always tries to fight with me to eat more." "Snacks?" Twitching in the mouth, Lan Yu almost couldn't believe his ears. "This is too extravagant." "My dear, old Lord Lan frowns. I know you took on a fourth-rank alchemist as your Shifu, master, but by giving us all these stuff, wouldn't your Shifu be mad and blame you?" Never in the old grandpa's mind did the idea of Bai Yan being a powerful alchemist cross his mind. It can't be helped, the former Bai Yan's talent was simply too mediocre. Though she's been gone and must have encountered something great, but the time frame was only 6 years. Then there's also the matter of child care. The most old Lord Lan expected was Bai Yan being a second-rate alchemist at best. Cruel things, it should be you who needs to apologize to this little brother here. Based on what? I am the royal grandson of the king. Whatever I do is always right. Royal grandson. Blinking his baby eyes, now Bai Xiachen finally understood why this fat kid would be so arrogant. He's the son of Bai Ruo, that evil woman. Little Rice, go bite him. After learning this fat kid was the son of his enemy, Bai Xiachen immediately made his command and let loose the baby tiger for a little rampage. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation, Meow. Without delay, Little Rice quickly rushes forward for the indicated target. Using those sharp claws and fangs of his, he swiftly swiped them across the little bully's face and caused a shrieking amount of pain in its wake. Save me, all of you, hurry and come save me. The eunuchs and maids originally wanted to go nab Bai Xiachen there, but upon hearing that screaming voice in the back, they immediately made a returning dash for the kitty instead. Sadly for them though, the kitty's movements were too flexible. In a flash, Little Rice had escaped the encirclement and was right behind the bully's back, a perfect spot for another swipe of his claws. Bleeding profusely at the neck area from the second swing, there's no question that the little bully was in some serious pain here. Watching this from the side, the other princes and princesses were all shuddering at the sight. Subconsciously, they took a step backwards to gain some more distance between themselves and the horrific boy. Are you all right? Running up to the skinny boy, Bai Xiachen lends a helping hand to the poor kid. My name is Bai Xiachen and my mother is Bai Yan. She is the most beautiful and kind woman in the world. The skinny boy hesitated at first from that outreaching hand, but once he came back to his senses, he happily took it. My name is Nangong Zhuan. Now that you've offended the royal grandson for my sake, there's no way he will let you go. Pinching his mouth to the side, Bai Xiachen appeared a little unhappy. So what if he's the royal grandson? I'm not afraid of him. My mother said I shouldn't go make trouble, but I mustn't run from trouble either if they come knocking. Whenever Bai Xiachen mentions the word mother, the light in the skinny boy's eye would grow dimmer. You don't have to worry. If my mother knows that you've been bullied, then she will definitely not sit idle. Making a reassuring gesture, Bai Xiachen confidently pats his chest. Evoking a bittersweet smile, Nangong Zhuan appeared quite sad at the topic. It's so good to have a mother. His mother was but a palace maid here and he himself a child born of mistake when the king became intoxicated one night. To make it more embarrassing, the man himself had completely forgotten about the incident after coming to. If not for his mother becoming pregnant after the case, none would have ever known. Though his mother had managed to give birth to himself through much difficulty, but in the end a place like the palace wasn't one for a person without backing. Eventually, his mother perished under the continuous grind of life here, leaving him all alone to suffer in this world. Nangong Zhuan, from now on my mother is your mother. Bai Xiachen grabs at the boy's wrist. Come with me, I will take you to see my mother. Going stiff in the body, Nangong Zhuan's brow inexplicably furrowed into a knot as his eyes looked down at the pulling hand. Finding the boy not moving, Bai Xiachen turns around to see why. That's when he noticed Nangong Zhuan trying to look away after being caught. Wrinkling his lovely face at the strange behavior, he swiftly raised the skinny boy's sleeve to investigate. Though Bai Xiachen had prepared himself for the worst here, but that sight was still shocking beyond his belief. That skinny arm from the wrist up was in complete tatters. There's not a single patch of skin still intact. Bruises of all kind, green, purple, and scars of burn and knife marks, just watching it would make one ache in the heart. Very uncomfortable inside, Bai Xiachen was seriously wondering who could do such a cruel thing. To an 8-year-old child no less. If an arm is already like this, then what about that body? Wouldn't there be even more injuries underneath that linen robe? Innocent Deetsang, before anyone else can speak up here, the old queen had already come over under the support of a palace maid. Due to her excessive rage, that frail body was constantly shaking. "Queen Mother, what are you doing here?" asked Nangong Yuan with a tinge of surprise in that voice. Stern in her expression, the old queen lashes out, "I don't care about whatever worship of the beasts, or whatever royal grandson, you must punish this boy today. He is bold enough to beat his own uncle and scold at me with his finger pointing out. What's more, he can actually call me old hag and claim he will drive me out of the palace. And there's also your son. He ignored my orders and had the guards besiege Bai Yan and her son. That you must also manage." This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Nangong Yuan's face abruptly changed. Turning to his grandson, he snapped, "Come apologize to your great-grandmother." "I will not apologize, now." The king's voice went up a few notches, a sign that his temper was starting to flare up. As a dutiful son, he most certainly won't allow someone to openly point at his mother and start scolding her. It's just that the child in question was born under special circumstances, he can't exactly punish that one either. Beginning to give in, Nangong Lin, bully, finally submitted because he do hold some fear towards this grandfather of his. "I'm sorry," as weak as that voice was, it's still an apology. "The person you should apologize to isn't me. What's more, your mistake is so huge that mere words won't be enough." The old queen's face remains unkind as she dragged Nangong Zhuan, skinny boy, to the forefront. Like before, she pulls open that linen robe to reveal the wounds underneath. "Look at your son here. Is this how you care for your son as a father? Your son is facing such discrimination and you never once bothered to intervene? If you won't care for him, then I will. From now on this child shall be raised by me." Watching those heart-numbing wounds, the man himself only made a slight frown. Inwardly, he honestly didn't feel much because he had conceived so many children over the years. Besides, this one was an accident, a dispensable byproduct of a one-night stand. Not missing the face coming off of the king, Bai Yan couldn't resist a snickering sneer. "It's as they say, kings are always the most heartless." "Queen Mother, since Lin, bully, knows his wrong now, we should just let the matter slide. I will compensate the child here to make it up to him." "I don't want any compensation." Nangong Zhuan stubbornly raises his little face. He made a mistake, so he should pay the price. Not looking so well, Nangong Yuan didn't think the child would be daring enough to openly refute his suggestion. Just as he wanted to continue his persuasion, a bloodthirsty and indifferent voice chimed in, causing the man himself to go stiff in the body. "When did I ever agree to let him go?" Awkwardly twisting his head around, his smile was very stiff and weird. "Deetsang, Lin is but a child. And my son is an adult then." "But Miss Bai Yan over there seriously injured one of our guards. That should be enough to even the fault. That's because he deserved it." Cold and indifferent in that voice, Deetsang only had Bai Yan in his eyes as he spoke. "Yan Yan, come to my side. Today I like to see who will dare touch my wife and child." Doing as told, she slowly walked up to the man's side and whispered into that ear, "You know you didn't have to come, I could have handled it. And what does that matter to me? She can deal with it, is her business, me wanting to protect her and my child is my business." Lagging there for a second, Bai Yan found herself choking for a proper response. Arg! Why is he so frustrating every time he speaks? Even so, she understands the meaning behind that statement. Deetsang. All of a sudden, Bai Yan made a grab for the man's collar after realizing something crucial. "Didn't I tell you before not to tell anyone about Xiachen being your son? Didn't you say you understand?" Punishment, too, the complexion in the crowd would darken by an ounce following each count by the skinny boy. This included Nangong Yuan, king, because he never expected the perpetrator of that big fire to be Nangong Lin, bully. This is just too outrageous. Waiting until his friend finishes going through his pains, Bai Xiachen then blinked at his father. Did you remember them all, handsome father? I'm rather fond of paying them back one step at a time. However they are given, I like it to be returned in the same manner. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Oh, yes, the little steam bun seems to have recalled something again. The little bully also said he's going to kill me and wipe my family out. Aren't you alive still? Your mother is fine too. Even if you want payback, you can't take his life. Nan Gongyi blurts this out in his urgency. Oh, you are right. Nodding, but the way he threatened me is enough to make him owe me. Let's do this. Father, if he is still alive after we light his house on fire, you can bring him to me. I just so happen to lack some playmates. Of course, the play part wasn't actually play, it's without a doubt a form of torture. Alright, we can do that. Towards the boy's demand, Ditsang was at the point where he will satisfy them all if asked. No, I don't agree. Bai Ruo had just wanted to get up when that oppressive gaze shot over again. In that instant, her knees felt like they were being crushed by a mountain. Biting her lips, Father, please, I beg you. Don't send my son over to them. This boy is so vicious, he will no doubt bully my Lin, bully. Gently closing his eyes, Nangong Yuan, king, only opened his eyes after a long period of contemplation. Though it was but a brief minute, it was enough to make this once stoic-looking ruler age over a decade. It shall be done as Lord Sung says. He originally thought Nangong Lin had only bullied Nangong Zhuan, but to commit arson for murder? If this continues, a disaster will just be a matter of time even if the child does ascend to the throne. Therefore, Nangong Yuan intends to use this incident to better the child. If that kid can change, then that's great. Otherwise he will have to rethink the line of ascension. Seeing even the king had forsaken her son, Bai Ruo finally lost all form of strength and plopped to the ground. I don't want to go. Nangong Lin sends an eyeful at his enemy. I don't want to go to his place, nor do I want to play with him. It's pretty obvious here that the fatty had mistook that term for its literal meaning. In reality, the only one that's being played was him. Handsome father. Blinking with those lovely eyes, Bai Xiachen doesn't appear to be satisfied yet. The matter with him may be solved, but there's still Bai Ruo and her husband. Turning green upon being placed in the spotlight, Nangong Yi, crown prince, subconsciously turns to his father. Sadly for him though, he only got the cold shoulder here. Even until now, the prince still doesn't under why his father would be so fearful of Ditsang. Is the man that scary that he can do whatever he pleases? You can decide their fate. Sweeping his sight across the two in question, Ditsang then turns back to face the miniature version of himself. Tilting his little head like he's in a dilemma, I can't think of a punishment severe enough for them. Why don't we just give them 100 rods in the butt? We can have my mother's big cousin do it. From the moment Nangong Yi heard that outlandish statement, he nearly puked blood. 100 rods? And to let Lan Shaoling perform the deed? Chu Yi, 1, pricking up his mouth, the little steam bun replies, the baddie is so fierce, I don't want him. Inside Bai Xiachen's little heart, only those who are gentle and kind can be good to his mother. But, tilting his head, out of consideration for his help today, I will admit his status as baddie father even if I'm a bit reluctant. Only baddie father. Let's go then, holding those baby hands, Bai Yan led the way with a brilliant smile. Everyone should be waiting for us at the Lan residence. We should go home now. Go home. That comment causes the boy to blink with astonishment. Because aside from their home at the Holy Island, they now have a home here too. Mother, do you like baddie father? Bai Xiachen asks with great difficulty. If his mother likes the man then he will too. Though not fully willing, but he will still do that for his mother's sake. Pausing, Bai Yan halted in her steps as the image of Ditsang's arrogant face comes to mind. I don't mind nor do I hate him, she shakes her head in the end after a brief contemplation. That's right, that's all there is. That's so. Bai Xiaochen may be still ignorant about things like love, but there's a nagging notion that's been bothering him up to this point. It's the way his mother treats everyone else compared to his father. She didn't directly refuse like how she did with his godfather back at the Holy Land. Just when Bai Xiaochen was still thinking about all these unnecessary things, Bai Yan had come knocking down with her fist at the baby's head. Quit thinking about all these unrelated matters. Regardless of your godfather or that man, I won't accept either of them. Unlike some woman out there, Bai Yan wasn't the type to give herself out so easily. This was especially true when she still hasn't thoroughly understood the other side yet. How sad, I'm a child without a father. Making an aggrieved face, the little steam bun covers his head like he's still hurt, thus forcing his mother to rub it for comfort. As long as Ditsang doesn't try to take you away, then you can always go find him, she declares. As a mother, Bai Yan understands that keeping a child from their father can be a cruel thing to do. Therefore she will allow them to meet, but that's all. She will never allow her son to be taken away without her permission. In response to her mother's remark, Bai Xiaochen only uttered a small affirming cry. In truth, he didn't care much about his father, he only wants a sister, that's all. Once the pair arrives at home, old Madame Lan was the first to come greet them. Rushing over in haste, she literally did a full-body checkup in order to confirm their well-being. However annoying as that maneuver was, it did cheer the little steam bun up. Donning a bright smile, he happily went over the various encounters and places he saw inside the palace. Also, he made sure to inform Lan Shaoling of his task of carrying out the punishment. Looking at the excited face of the kid, old Lord Lan's usual grumpy attitude too became a smiling one. Not bothering to wait, he tasked the servants to bring out the dishes for dinner. Once the food was done and everyone ready to head back to their rooms, Bai Yan was stopped in her steps when a white pigeon broke through the window and lands right in front of her. Mistress, who sent the letter? Little Rice asked after seeing the woman unscrolling the message from the pigeon's leg. She's here. Perhaps it's her mood being very joyous, even her eyes are full of smiles. She's here. Blinking at the statement, Little Rice didn't quite understand who Bai Yan was referring to. Little Rice, in a bit I want you to tell my son that I'm going out to pick up someone. The dead man is here again. 1. Exchanging between themselves, the surrounding guards suddenly made a very sympathetic expression towards this so-called Bai family. No matter who it was, anyone unfortunate enough to catch the little princess's fancy will be tortured till they cry. That's a fact, not a guess. Little princess, the elders said you can only come out for a brief while on this trip. One of the guards cautiously came forward and reminded the maiden of this fact. There's no other way because the girl was simply too dangerous to leave unrestrained. If left here to do as she pleases, no doubt the entire Lu Ho kingdom will fall into chaos at her hands. Raising a smile, Chu Yi didn't mind the warning and went ahead to curl her arms around Bai Yan's. Go back and tell the elders I'm going to stay here for a while with Bai Yan. They won't have any more opinions then. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation Bai Yan. The guards were all confused by this. This name was rather foreign to them. However, through the little princess's mouth, it sounded like Bai Yan was no ordinary person. Wait a minute. All of a sudden, the guard seems to have recalled something important. Their bodies stiffening as a result of their revelation. Little princess, it can't be this Miss Bai Yan is. Before the guards could finish their words, Qi Yi had already turned around to warn them with her stare. If you say anything more to reveal Bai Yan's presence, then don't blame me for not warning you. The elders will definitely not let you people live afterwards. Gasping with an intense fright, the guards were in utter shock as they inhaled deeply. Little princess. Is she really the one from the Holy Island? According to what they know, several years ago the elders had taken in a genius disciple. Not only was this individual gifted in alchemy at the supernatural level, even the elders could only admit defeat when placed against her. What's more, it's even said that the Lord of the Holy Land was very fond of the woman and had forbid the other disciples from entering the Holy Island, all for the sake of keeping the peace in that place. And now, that very same person was now standing in front of them. That very person. Extremely excited in their expressions, the guards would honestly rush home this instant just so they can gloat to their friends. Of course, there's no way they can do that under the threat here. Let's go then. Pulling Chu Yi's hand, Bai Yan led the girl out of the forested and towards the city gate. Along the way, Chu Yi appears to be excited along every inch of the way, like she's extremely curious about the things in the outside world. Yi, I'm going to first send you to the old manor for now. Don't make trouble while I'm not around, okay? Knowing the girl's personality, Bai Yan didn't forget to give a final warning. Unlike her son, who will mostly only retaliate when provoked first, Chu Yi was on a whole different scale in comparison. If the person so much as didn't fit her liking, the girl will seriously go pummel them just for the heck of it without reason. I know, you don't need to keep reminding me, you know. Puckering her lips in a disapproving manner, Chu Yi clearly didn't pay any heed to the warning based on how excitedly flushed her cheeks were. Knowing exactly what's going on in the girl's mind, Bai Yan was seriously doubting her decision of letting the Chu Yi stay. We're here. Once at the entrance to the old manor, a shocking cry suddenly interrupted their focus from the back. Bai Yan, why are you here? This voice clearly carried a sense of surprise in there, thus causing Bai Yan to halt in her steps. Slightly swinging her head around, she faces the middle-aged man before her with those unemotional eyes. Do you have an issue with me being here? A bit embarrassed by the question, Bai Zhengxiang's awkwardly replied, I came here to meet the people from the flower brothel. Oh right, why are you able to go in? Originally the man wanted to explain himself some more, but a realization suddenly dawned on him. Can it be Bai Yan is related to the flower brothel? If so, I can use this and get a connection with those inside. The dead man is here again, too. It didn't take much for Bai Yan to see through to the man's intent. Sneering in her mouth, you want to use me to build a connection with the flower brothel, aren't you? Let me state this clearly first. I don't hold any weight with them, so lose the idea. Wait. Seeing his daughter about to leave, Bai Zhengxiang hurriedly called out, Daughter, I know I've wronged you. Can you forgive me? Unemotional in her eyes, Bai Yan's gaze was no different from someone looking at a stranger. I heard you, and I much prefer it that you don't come looking for me again. Turning anxious in his expression, I have something else I need to ask of you. Ditsang is so fond of you now, can you ask him to release your sister Ji? This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Laughing at the request, there's no happiness or kindness, only a biting cold in the girl's voice. Sister. So even she knows how to come seek my help when in need? Then how about back then? When I was starving in the winter cold, did she ever thought about giving me some food? I still remember what Rong Yu said to me back then. She said I never contributed to the Bai house, so I didn't deserve anything. She would rather feed it to the dogs than to feed me. So, my brother and I would often have to make do with no more than half a bowl of rice in a day. I was scared and hungry. With nowhere else to turn to, I ran to seek your help. And guess what you did? You yelled at me and directly kicked me out of the study room and called me ungrateful and a liar. And now? This man wants to talk family bonds. Ha! As if the world would have such a good thing going around. Left with no way to rebuke, Bai Zhengxiang became weak in his voice. Daughter, I know I didn't do a good job, but please, help your sister. Consider it me apologizing here today. Since you know you have wronged me, then why are you asking me to plead for you? Do you know the crime of impersonating a royal family member? It's the death sentence. The fact that Ditsang didn't outright kill her is already a great act of mercy. Now she only needs to suffer a bit of pain and you still want less? Daughter, with pain in his eyes, how can she bear that sort of pain when she's been protected throughout her life? I know if you just go ask Ditsang then surely he will do as you say. And, even if I and you Rong have wronged you, Ji is still your younger sister. She is innocent. I hope you can forgive them and not hold a grudge. My daughter is kind and gentle, so as a father, how can I idly watch and do nothing? No matter what, I will rescue Ji from the prison. Sneering derisively, and what does that have to do with me? What's more, this time she's here to topple the entire Bai family. Once she's done investigating the truth, then nothing will get in her way. Bai Yan, you, scram. Like a thundering boom, the word, scram, reverberated across the man's heart. With disbelief in his eyes, Bai Zhengxiang simply couldn't believe such a thing could come out of this daughter of his. She told you to scram, did you not hear it? Looking at the man in a condescending manner, Chu Yi takes on a superior position with her pose. I have never seen such a shameless person before. Bai Yan, I say you should cut off all ties with him this instant and become my father's daughter instead. As soon as this topic came up of her own accord, Chu Yi would feel a bit wronged inside. She herself was the true daughter of her father, yet the old man would always lecture her about not being good enough. To add insult to the wound, her own father had even given away the Holy Island. Fortunately the person was Bai Yan, so she didn't mind it, otherwise. Bai Zhengxiang was already quite displeased inside over Bai Yan's rude remarks, but to be openly insulted in the public by some random girl, he naturally wouldn't sit tight. And who are you? What right do you have to cut into our conversation? The dead man is here again. 3. Chu Yi's body was trembling with anger. She, the pampered princess of the Holy Land, had always been treated with the utmost respect, never had she been exposed to such grief. This Bai Zhengxiang, actually say I don't have any right to cut in. Have you all left yet? If not, then I order all of you to capture this man. Exactly when Chu Yi blurts her command out, the guards that's part of her entourage immediately came out of hiding. Despite their silence, those faces clearly had an awkward expression to them. Although they knew that with Bai Yan here, the princess will surely not be in any danger. However, that doesn't excuse them from returning to the Holy Land on their own. But to be discovered by the little princess so easily. You. Bai Zhengxiang was full of anger in his eyes. Just when he wanted to yell out, two of the men in white quickly stepped forward and locked his arms from both sides. Under the shackling gesture, Bai Zhengxiang was horrified in the next instant when he wanted free himself. It appears his power had been sealed. Bai Yan, you won't get mad at me for teaching your father a lesson, right? Blinking her innocent yet devilish eyes, Chu Yi asked with worry in her tone. Pricking her brow, he has nothing to do with me. As long as you don't kill him then it's all fine with me. If her friend here intends to use her entourage then she might as well sit back and watch instead of making a move herself. Great. Happily clapping her hands together like an excited child, the young maiden then points to another one of her protectors. You two start slapping him. Yes, little princess. Princess. Bai Zhengxiang widened his eyes in shock. Is this girl a princess of some kingdom? This time I really am careless, to think I would bump heads with a princess. Pa! Without hesitation, the guard sends a direct slap across the man's face. As a result of the intense force, that mouth quickly began seeping blood from the corner. Despite the anger boiling up inside, Bai Zhengxiang didn't dare direct it at the young maiden, instead, it was directed at Bai Yan. And here I was feeling guilty about this girl. I should have strangled her when she was born, then none of this would have ever occurred. Bai Yan, I am your father, you having other people hit me is a sin, a big sin. The heavens will punish you for this. There's a seniority to things. Regardless of the mistake the elders make, the younger generation has no right to take revenge. For people like Bai Yan who would hit their own father, only misfortune awaits. Well, that's the sort of logic running through the man's head anyways. Whether it's right or wrong, that's definitely up for debate. And, so what if she likes Lord Song? What's wrong with that? You are the elder sister, so it's only right that you yield to your younger sister. Pa pa pa. Afraid the man might say more infuriating words, the guard responsible for the punishment hastened his slaps and attacked from both left and right. No different from a machine gun with his hands, Bai Zhengxiang's outcome for his dirty mouth was a bruised pig face, thus forcing him to shut up completely. Step aside. Dark in her expression, Bai Yan coldly orders. Slightly stunned by the command, the white guards only took a second to do as told. With a path open now, Bai Yan slowly came up to this man that's supposedly her father. Then without indication, she suddenly lifted her foot and makes a mega stomp onto that chest, sending the bruised-faced man flying out a dozen meters as a result. When that body finally came down again, Bai Zhengxiang was already out on the main street with a bunch of bystanders pointing at him in gossip. Close the door. While the white guards were still in shock, the woman's indifferent voice suddenly drifted into their ears. Afraid for their own life, they immediately slammed the door without a second thought. Bai Yan, your kicking posture there is so cool. You know, I just found out that I've become obsessed with you to the point of being infatuated. Chu Yi happily stuck her face up to tell her friend this. Sudden tenderness, too. Little princess, I feel like they are more like flirting there. One of the girl's entourage shakily states his mind. Turning around to glare at the person, Chu Yi grumpily rebukes the claim. Have you ever seen someone say they will lop off your hands when flirting? Don't forget, all of you are part of the Holy Land. If you are going to support someone, it has to be my brother. I don't care, go prepare the paper and inks for me. I'm going to write a letter to my brother and warn him. Although Bai Yan had warned her not to divulge the situation to anyone, but things are getting too serious. Huh? But the young lord is currently in closed-door training, one of the guards timidly reminded the girl. Annoyed by the constant irritation, Chu Yi directly sends a slap onto the unlucky guy's head. Xiaqin has been discovered and my future sister-in-law is about to be stolen. What the heck is he still training for? Scared to the point of not daring to talk back, the guards knew the girl cannot be stopped once she's decided on something. Unfortunately, they seems to have forgotten one crucial fact. Unless the man in question decides to come out of his own volition, the letter won't be able to reach him. Considering Chu Yi's IQ, there's no way the girl would think of this flaw in her plan. As such, when Qi Fengyi finally got the chance to read the message, things were already too late. In the backyard where the fake mountains stood, Bai Yan was currently having a tough time dealing with a certain persistent man that just won't go away. I've already allowed Xiaqin to admit your status as his father, why do you keep coming to find me? Snickering a laugh, Di Tsung sounded very devious in the way he talked. You raped me, for that, our relationship will forever be tied together in this life. Steaming to the point where she didn't know how to reply, Bai Yan could only take it because it's as the man said. Back then it was she who raped him. Bai Yan, our son can only have me as his father, and you can only have me as your man. Closing in, Di Tsung overbearingly pinches that delicate chin so it can't escape. I already promised you that I won't take our son away. For that, you must become my wife. Also, the part about having one partner for a lifetime, I can give you that too. One partner for a lifetime, I can give you that too. Despite shaking in her fingers, Bai Yan's expression didn't change in the least, like the proud statement didn't affect her. Seeing this, Di Tsung loosened his hand and said, it's fine if you don't accept me now, I can give you time. However, until then, I will continue to make you pay for your debt. Raising her head, Bai Yan was just about to say something again when the man's lip came pressing down without her permission. Then in order to not let her escape, Di Tsung's arms quickly wrapped itself around her waist and back, forcing those sizable mounds to meet his body. The kiss was very long and deep, so long that Bai Yan had to forcefully bite that tongue before it would relent. My dear Yan Yan, your lips are magical, you know that. I'm truly entranced by them that I can't even hold back anymore. Scram. Livid with anger, Bai Yan shouts this aloud. Did the man come here just to kiss me? Unlike his previous meetings, Di Tsang was surprisingly good this time. Using his fingers to comb through those long black hair, he then gently left a gentle kiss on her forehead. You still owe me 6 kisses. Be good and wait for me to collect the rest. Shuddering at the gesture, Bai Yan was pretty much accustomed to being forced at this point. But to be treated so gently, this was definitely a first for her. Just as she wanted to speak out again, Di Tsang's figure was already gone, leaving nothing behind but the cool breeze of the night. Sudden tenderness. 3. By the time Bai Yan returned to the front yard, there were already 3 familiar figures waiting there. It was Lan Xiaoyun, Chu Yi, and her son. Naturally, Bai Xiachen would be the first to notice her arrival. But just as the little steam bun wanted to call out, he was stopped by a gesture from Bai Yan. You just don't know how dastardly hateful that Bai Ji is. Not only does she often bully my cousin, she even dared to pretend to be Lord Sung's fiancé. Fortunately Lord Sung didn't like her and locked her away. Puffing in her cheeks, Lan Xiaoyun would still gnash her teeth in anger at the mention. Like her newfound acquaintance, Chu Yi also gnashed her teeth at the topic, but not at Bai Ji though. Rather it's at Di Tsang's enchanting face. I've met him before, that Lord Sung. He's indeed extremely handsome, but I don't like him. Why don't you like Lord Sung? Blinking her eyes, Lan Xiaoyun couldn't quite understand where the hate was coming from because there are too many girls eyeing Di Tsang in the kingdom. Puckering her mouth in discontent, Chu Yi explains, the guy is so bad and he wants to chop off Bai Yan's hands. But, in this world, only Lord Sung can match my cousin. Who said that? Although my older brother isn't as handsomely seductive as Lord Sung, but his character is many times better. Plus, Xiachen already promised me before that he will help my brother pursue Bai Yan. Jumping up urgently, Chu Yi turns to lift the little steam bun up in front of herself like a little puppy. Xiachen, you will help me, right? Not answering immediately, he first looked at Chu Yi, then back at the woman behind her. My mother is right behind you, I think you should ask her yourself instead. Stiffening up at the statement, I was only joking. Ha ha he. Raising a smirk, Bai Yan somehow became frightfully intimidating despite not trying to do so. So you're not going to be your brother's supporter anymore? Embarrassed by the fact that she's been pointed out, Chu Yi wittingly pulls the topic away with a puppy face and a quick embrace at Bai Yan's waist. Sister Yan. I know I'm wrong, so please don't send me away. I promise I won't try to persuade you into marrying my brother. Not getting the reception like she wanted, Chu Yi's look became increasingly miserable. You are my one and only sister, please don't be so cruel. I really don't want to go back to the Holy Land. They only know how to restrict my freedom. And why do they limit your freedom? Isn't it because if they don't, you will turn the Holy Land upside down with your plays? Still unmoved in her expression, Bai Yan only asked this, you really know you're wrong? Elated by the question, Chu Yi hurriedly nods to show her determination. There won't be a second chance. Loosening her expression, Bai Yan remains indifferent still while the other party was overjoyed. Chu Yi just knew it, only pleading would work with her sister here. Likewise, Lan Xiaoyun also exhaled a sigh of relief because she also found the new girl to be very pleasant to hang around with. Xiaoyun, did you not say your big brother is going to the palace to carry out the punishment? Making a slightly evil chuckle, I also want to see this palace. Bring me along. Di Tsang's Revenge, 1, No. When she heard Chu Yi wishing to tag along, Bai Yan's face instantly went dark. You stay here, you can't go anywhere. With a confused look, Lan Xiaoyun, girl cousin, turns to the source. cousin, my big brother will also enter the palace. Besides, it's not like we're going anywhere dangerous, only to carry out the punishment per your arrangement. I'm not afraid of her being in danger, I'm afraid of others being in danger. It's impossible for Chu Yi to be in danger, only others when in her presence. That's a fact, not a guess or assumption. Sister Yen, pitiful in her eyes, I promise I won't cause any trouble, so please. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Suspicious in her look, Bai Yen carefully asked, would you light the entire palace on fire? Burn the entire palace? Twitching in the mouth, Lan Xiaoyun almost couldn't keep her laughter in. Isn't she being a bit exaggerated there? How could a single girl burn the entire palace? But unlike the young girl there, Bai Yen still hasn't forgotten about the last incident where her son and this Chu Yi teamed up together to burn her Shifa's entire treasure trove. Since then, Bai Yen had inexplicitly forbade Bai Xiachen from colluding with her ever again. I swear to the heaven that I won't burn the whole palace down. Raising 3 of her fingers, Qi Yi didn't hesitate to make a vow. Good thing she did too, because it worked. Xiaoyun, you take her then. Remember to watch over her though and keep her in your sight at all times. Finally loosening herself, Bai Yen relents in the end. Elated, Lan Xiaoyun confidently takes the helm. Don't worry cousin, I will definitely bring Yi back safely. With the assurance, Bai Yen can finally stop worrying so much and not say more. Giving herself a quick stretch, she then lazily marched towards the back again. Meanwhile back at the Bai house, a certain servant was carrying Bai Zhengxiang into the estate with much difficulty. Husband, husband! Who turned you into this horrible state? Yu Rong exclaims with horror after seeing the sight and rushes over. Bai Yen, unclear in his words, the man nevertheless manages to make out this name through it all. When hearing this, Yu Rong naturally became fuming. Bai Yen again. Why is that bitch always crossing our path? Quickly, go find an alchemist to see the housemaster. Not hesitating, Yu Rong first carried her husband into the bedroom before shouting this command out. It didn't take long after the servant left. When the old alchemist in which they called for arrives to see the terribly bruised-up man, even his already wrinkly forehead somehow manages to become even more tied up. Lord Bai's injury is very heavy. Even with a 1st or 2nd grade healing pill won't do here. Master, please cure my husband. Yu Rong painfully bites her lip. Alchemists had always been arrogant and prideful in their demeanor. Even though she herself was the mistress of the Bai house, it means nothing for her dignity while in the presence of someone like this. Combing through his long white beard, the old man confidently spoke, it's not impossible to cure your husband here, but we need a 3rd grade healing pill for his injury. What? 3rd grade pill? Her voice nearly came out as a shriek. It's been said before many times, Bai Zhengxiang achieved his current state thanks to Lan Yue's, Bai Yan's mother, dowry. Without a good business sense, plus everything has been squandered away over the years, the Bai house was pretty much an empty husk at this stage. Master Yu, the price of the medicine, a tad hesitant, Yu Rong nervously asked. Without changing, the old alchemist lays it out bluntly, 10 million, gold. This. The woman almost couldn't keep her posture there. Originally she wanted to bargain over the price, but out of consideration for the Bai name, she can only suck it up and agree. If it becomes known the Bai house can't even afford a single 3rd grade pill, they will surely be the laughingstock of the century. I said I will wait for you, one, yes my lord. Pressing down his shock, the guard respectfully complied. For the Bai house to provoke the master, only death awaits. Meanwhile back at the courtyard. A certain red blossoming figure was currently resting inside a pavilion when a heavy mass pressed in against hers. It was a little body. Soft and fragrant to her nose, Bai Yen had to open her resting eyes at the smell. Mother, Bai Xiachen's face burst into a bright smile with his baby hands hooked around the woman's neck. What were you thinking about? I was thinking about your grandchiefess. In this world, aside from Bai Xiao and the Lan family, her grandchiefess are the closest people she has while also being the ones she interacted with the most. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation, but don't mother miss Godfather too? Puffing up those cheeks, Bai Xiachen was obviously not very happy. He misses Godfather so much, so why was his mother not missing him too? Smiling at the question, Bai Yan pulls the little steam bun into her arms and explained, I miss him too, but I owe your godfather way too much. In this life, I can never repay him for everything that he's done for me. Chu Yifeng's style was the cold and indifferent type, but it's precisely such a cold and indifferent man that gave her everything that he owns. Sadly, towards the man, Bai Yan only has family affection and not love. While Bai Xiachen wanted to say a few good words for Chu Yifeng, a hurried footstep came from the outside and stopped him. Turning around at the source, Bai Yan's mouth quickly turned into a smile at the sight of the person. Hualuo, is Yi and Xiaoyun back already? Mistress, coming before Bai Yan, this head of the flower brothel replied with a smile of her own. Guess what sort of notice I saw at the city gate just now? What notice? Bai Yan pricked her brow and asked. Lord Song has ordered. If Bai Zhengxiang wants to save Bai Ji, he must return your mother Lan Yue's dowry. When stating this part, the charming woman carefully observed her mistress, seemingly trying to find something in her attempt. Yet, Bai Yan's expression remains unmoved without a speck of change. I understand. Ah. Surprised in her eyes, Hualuo couldn't understand how Bai Yan could be so unmoved. Anyone can see that Lord Song was doing this for her sake. Hualuo, you go down first. Once Yi returns, come back and tell me. Yes, mistress. Getting the dismissal, the charming woman didn't try to overstay herself and left. But once she was gone, Bai Yan's hand quickly tightened its grips around her son's body. Hey son, do you know why your father is doing this much for me? A complicated light could be seen in her eyes. I don't know, mother. Obediently leaning against her mother's body, those fluttering little eyes were sparkling like the dazzling stars in the night sky. Mother, I suddenly found that Big Baddie isn't all that hateful. Towards the remark from her son, Bai Yan only faintly smiled because she knew it too inside. If Ditsang really wanted to get revenge for 6 years ago, he would have done so already. But he didn't do that. However, the reason why the man treats herself so special was all due to his personal preference of not finding her disgusting. Then there's also their son. In the end, he doesn't love me for who I am, so how can my heart be moved? Mother, are you not happy? Likely becoming aware of Bai Yan's change in emotion, the little steam bun quickly raised his adorable little face and snugged it against her cheek. If having a father will make mother unhappy, then I don't want a father. As long as I have mother, then that's enough. Bai Zaken is too cunning, I said I will wait for you. Closing her eyes with this sentence reverberating in the mind, Bai Yan was filled with turmoil. But I don't like you. No matter, you will sooner or later fall in love with me. The man's arrogance and self-conceited voice was more than enough to make her want to punch that face. She's seen a narcissist before, but never to this degree. How can he be so certain that I will fall in love with him? At the same time, not far away from the Tsang Manor, a certain little head had just popped out of an alleyway. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Little Master, do you really want to do this? Little Rice's heart was trembling incessantly. Can I keep out of this? No. Patting the tiger cub's head, did you forget how that baddie bullied mother? Now Little Rice really wanted to cry, but that baddie is your father. What's more, you even gave him permission to make more sisters with your mother. Likely able to guess what's on his friend's mind, Bai Xiachen quickly explains himself. That's just my excuse back there, otherwise how can I leave the mansion? And, pausing for a moment, you saw it too. I couldn't beat that baddie, nor can I allow him to keep harassing my mother. That's why I'm taking this risk. I thought you don't hate him as much. Aggrieved in his face, Little Rice protests. His young master here was Deetsang's son, so nothing will happen even if he does something wrong, but that immunity didn't apply to Little Rice himself. Tied in his response, Bai Xiachen was clearly swaying back and forth here. I don't hate him as much, that's true, but he is still bullying mother. I may want a sister, but if I had to choose between a sister or mother, I pick my mother. No matter what, anyone who bullies his mother are all baddies. But Little Rice wanted to say more but found himself unable to when Bai Xiachen suddenly covered his mouth. Don't say any more. We're starting now. In a sneaky manner, the boy slowly advanced towards the targeted estate. Unfortunately for him though, due to Bai Xiachen's constant focus on his surroundings, he seems to have forgotten to look in front. Before he knew it, he had bumped face first into a stranger. While the baby boy only stumbled backwards a few steps, the victim here was rather unfortunate and directly took to the ground after losing her balance. The maiden who fell wanted to yell out at the one responsible, but when she saw it was Bai Xiachen himself, that young delicate face immediately erupted with anger. It's you. Blinking in confusion, the little steam bun replied, Auntie, do you know me? Who are you calling auntie? The young girl roared as soon as she regained her composure, I'm an unmarried princess in her prime, how dare you call me auntie? Princess? She's a princess of the kingdom. Hurry and scram. The sixth princess was clearly enraged by the kid's attitude. She had never expected to encounter Bai Yan's child here today. Originally she only intended to sneak a peek before leaving because Deetsang's terrifying aura had completely seeped into her bones. Auntie, I don't know how to scram. Why don't you show me how to do it first? Pink in the cheek, Bai Xiachen's gaze was so innocent and true that none can find fault in them. Shut up. Seriously annoyed by the fact that the little thing would constantly call herself auntie left and right, the princess couldn't take it anymore. If you call me auntie again, then watch me rip out that mouth of yours. Take the fall, 1, Little Rice. Stroking the tiger cub's head, Bai Xiachen was filled with innocence in his eyes as he spoke. Remember when mother told us not to talk with aunties in their menopause stage? She said their tempers are very erratic due to old age. I didn't believe it at first, but now I do. The princess didn't quite understand what menopause meant, but she did catch the old part very clearly. Did this little twerp just call me an old auntie? What are you all still waiting for? Sixth princess roared, hurry and catch this little bastard for me. Despite the command, the guards that came with her were all hesitant because it's no secret this little ancestor was Deetsang's son. Where would they find the gals to touch him? This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Princess, one of the men slowly inched forward and shyly spoke. Lord Tsang had openly recognized his status. If we nab him and the king learns of this, perhaps. How dare you? Snapping, the princess directly slaps the guard across the face and became all twisted in her expression. Don't forget who your master is. Fine, if none of you will move then I will do it myself. Let's see if this thing will keep being presumptuous in front of me. If it was in the past, the sixth princess would never dare go against Deetsang. But now, her heart has been filled with jealousy, thus causing her to lose all senses of reasoning. If anyone were to see those eyes in the girl, they might even mistake it as someone having their entire family killed. And here I was wondering how good Bai Yan's son was, turns out it's nothing but a brat that doesn't know his manners. I really don't know why Lord Tsang would allow a wild child like you to be his son. Pinching his lips to the side unhappily, Bai Xiachen just knew it's his old man's fault. Auntie wants to marry my father. Giggling with a sinister light in his eyes, then I'm not wrong to call you auntie then. It can't be that you want me to call you sister now, do you? You. Slightly taken aback here, the princess somehow couldn't understand why the laugh from the little guy was so evil. It's almost like a little devil. In her momentary trance, Bai Xiachen had already came in front of the girl. With one stretch and one push, the baby boy had managed to force the princess back several steps. Nearly tipping over, the girl was infuriated and wanted to catch the twerp. I'm going to kill you. But just as the princess was about to make contact, Bai Xiachen makes a strange maneuver and bypasses the girl's hand, leaving her stumbling over completely in front. With her hair a total mess, the girl was truly a crazed animal in her appearance now. Damn it! How can I, an Earth-rank martialist, lose to a brat that's barely weaned from her mother's milk? No. This won't do. I must teach this runt a lesson, or I can never hold up my face again. What is happening here? Who is making a ruckus outside? A fierce voice suddenly broke through the chaotic mess. As a pack of soldiers rushed out of the Tsang manor to investigate, the leading soldier immediately recognized the innocent boy and the raving princess. In that instant, the man almost couldn't comprehend the information. Young Lord, sixth princess, what are you all doing here? His master had already admitted Bai Xiachen's identity. Although the matter still hasn't been registered in the books yet, but it's pretty much set in stone. Take the fall, too, therefore, his addressment of young lord wasn't wrong here. All of you grab this little thing for me. Red in her eyes, the sixth princess was very confused over why she missed. She's certain she had used her full speed there. Princess, he is still a child. Struggling in their faces, the soldiers that just came out were all fully aware of the boy's status. What's more, Di Tsang had directly instructed them to put Bai Xiachen ahead of anyone, including royalty. If this situation continues and allowed the princess here to bully the little guy, the guards had no illusion their ending won't be any better than the bratty girl. I don't care. All of you must get even for me. Giving a direct kick at one of the soldiers, she continued, don't forget, my father only tasked you people to watch over Lord Song. In the end, my father the king is your true master. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. The soldier in question was already looking very ugly in his face to begin with, then to have his chest kicked so hard, his expression promptly turned ghastly. Princess, you mustn't speak so carelessly. Since His Majesty had given us to Lord Song, it's only proper that we protect the young lord in the critical moment. Alright, fine, then I will keep doing it myself then. Gritting her teeth, the princess then jerked her whip out. In one swing, she lashes out at the baby boy across from her. Fortunately though, just as the whip's about to land, Bai Xiachen suddenly raises a hand to scratch his head and narrowly escaped the trajectory due to the tilted angle of his body. The first time can still be a coincidence, then what about this time? A coincidence still? The soldiers from the Tsang manor were all scared silly by the princess's action. They can tell, if it had landed, the attack would have without a doubt left a scar on that cuddly face and forced the boy to become disfigured. If the Lord returns and finds out, we're finished. Six princess, we're sorry. Signaling his peers with a wink, the leading soldier led the way with the others quickly following suit in an encircling formation. Uncle Soldier. Just as the soldiers were about to start subduing the bratty princess, a soft and delicate voice chimed in from behind. A tad surprised, the man in question quickly turns around. Finding it was his young lord with the white kitty, he respectfully bowed and asked, "Is there something you need, young master?" This big auntie must be still young in her age, that's why she's so ignorant. I don't want to make trouble, so you can let her go. By now a crowd of onlookers had already gathered outside the Tsang manor, wondering what the big commotion was. Therefore, when they heard Bai Xiachen's kind sentence, their eyes all turned into disgust and shot over to the princess. Young age? What young? This kid being bullied is but 5 years old. On the contrary, the sixth princess is already considered an adult. Yes, young master. The soldiers were honestly relieved to hear the order from the boy. They personally don't want to make a move against the princess either, but in order to keep Ditsang from hammering down his fury, they had no choice but to go ahead. With the young lord's order, even if they do release the girl, it's not their fault anymore. Just you wait and see. Swiftly reorganizing her messy hair, the sixth princess sent one last glare at the baby boy before charging right through the crowd. With the instigator of the event gone, so did the onlookers. While the soldiers from the Tsang manor wanted to play escort with Bai Xiaochen, they were firmly rejected and driven away by him. Don't joke around. If these soldiers were to tag around, what else can he do? Little master, say it, what are you planning again? After all the people were gone and out of sight, Little Rice asked inattentively while grooming his fur. If the boy wasn't planning something against the princess, there's no way she would have made it out of here unscathed. That's the sort of personality the baby tiger came to expect of the boy. Little Rice, look, I got this from the bad auntie. Return the dowry, 3, is that right? Bai Yan throws a skeptic eye at Di Tsung's lower half. If he never had a reaction before, then what changed? I didn't even do anything. Noticing the wicked gaze from the devilish woman, Di Tsung's smile only got rosier. Now that you know so much, it's imperative that I don't let you go. In response, Bai Yan's face went dark, but it's you who told me everything. I don't care. I just know you are in on my secrets, so you have to stay by my side. Then I'm regretting asking you these questions. It's too late for that. Grinning, as if you can dump me so easily, you unlucky woman. Fine, if you really want to marry me, then you have to promise that you can't go from my bed until we are bonded. Otherwise, I will rather die than to accept you in the future. Contemplating the idea for a moment, Di Tsung finally replied, very well, I promise you. He's already waited 6 years, another while won't make a difference here. But when the time does come though, Di Tsung swears by his name that he will make her unable to leave the bed for 3 days straight. I'll go get someone to prepare the room for you, Bai Yan grits her teeth. Once your place is repaired, you are moving back. I'm all right with that. Without hesitation, the man answers on the spot. Repaired? Ho ho, that's only if it ever gets fixed. Slowly relaxing, Bai Yan had in fact lied here. When given enough time, she will use the opportunity to run with her son. It's not early anymore, so I'm going to rest. You serve yourself. After stating this, she swiftly rushed away, afraid the man would suddenly pounce at her again. Watching that departing back, Di Tsung's smile somehow manages to become even more enchanting. It seems it's time for me to get married. Compared to the tranquility on this side, the Bai house on the other hand was in utter chaos. First was Di Tsung announcing to the world that they must return the dowry in order to save Bai Ji, then came the news that their youngest daughter was currently taking customers at the flower brothel. Despite their swift response to go investigate in person, none of the Bai family members could get inside the establishment. To add insult to the injury, the flower brothel wouldn't even recognize they had seized the girl. With no evidence and no way to confirm if the news was true, their only recourse was to check the prison. However, their efforts also hit a brick wall on this front. The only answer they got from the prison guards were a, "You are mistaken, your daughter is still inside the cell." In the end, Yu Rong and Bai Zhengxiang can only cave in and submit to Di Tsung's demand. The wife ran to the palace to retrieve the accessories she's given away over the years, while the husband pressured his subordinate powers a second time to gather the funds. For a time, the entire nation was ran over with grief and anger. Some had even turned around to seek refuge under the lawn house. No matter how powerful a force was, if they lose the support of those below, it's an eventuality that another similar power would overtake the first. Bai Zhengxiang knew at least this much, but he can't be too picky at this point. By the time the dowries were cobbled together, another month had passed. I will go match the dowries here with the list at the office. If even one thing is missing, I will have you puke it back out. Bai Yan coldly stares down at the red-eyed man that's supposed to be her father. Bai Yan, are you really going to go this far to completely disregard our father and daughter bond? The man's eye was full of anger, tell me honestly, was it you who had Ditsung persecute us? Lowering her teacup, Bai Yan only scoffed a laugh. Whether it's me or not, the fact remains that these belong to me. And, this is just the first step. Don't forget, everything that you have today is the result of my mother being overly infatuated with you. Or do you think those damn pills are without consequences? The man sneered, I've already returned what needs to be returned, and the pills are already consumed by me. Do you expect me to spit them back out? I won't have you spit them back out. Bai Yan paused, letting her dreadful smile take hold, but, I can have your strength revert back to the stage where you never ate the pills. Threat 1. Bai Zhengxiang shuddered at the statement because he's got the strange feeling that this girl would surely carry out her threat today. Bai Yan, I'm your father. Tightly clenching those fists, his eyes burned with rage. Must you push us over the edge? If you don't want to let your strength revert back to before, then return the pills in which my mother gave you. From the day she returned to this place, Bai Yan had already made the decision to take back everything that once belonged to her mother. No more, no less. Bai Zhengxiang's eyes were full of mockery. I originally didn't want to go too far based on our relationship, but now that you are willing to ignore the bond between us, then don't blame me. Pricking her brow, huh? Can it be, this man still has something in his hands that can threaten me? I know what you've been doing recently. Bai Zhengxiang's expression turned cold. The reason why you can be so arrogant is because of the flower brothel's backing. Otherwise, where would you find the courage to make so much clamor in front of me? This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Laughing hard in her stomach, Bai Yan had trouble keeping herself from breaking into tears. Oh, isn't that ironic? There's some people here who can't even get in touch with the flower brothel when they try. Leaning leisurely on the chair, a gorgeous smile arose from her face. Prior to this, Bai Zhengxiang had tried several times to make a visit to this old manor after learning it belongs to the flower brothel. Unfortunately for him, the guards would drive him away at every turn, let alone let him step inside. If not for this case, Bai Yan would never allow such an evil-hearted man to come here. Bai Zhengxiang's face sank. Bai Yan, you finally admits it, eh? Admit what? Asked Bai Yan, her eyes confused. Admit that you are the leading prostitute of the flower brothel. Sad in his face, Bai Zhengxiang looked exactly like a father that's disappointed over his daughter's lost way. Bai Yan was dumbfounded here. Leading prostitute? And it's me who admitted it. How come I didn't know about this? Without paying heed to the strange frowning expression on his daughter's face, Bai Zhengxiang continues on with his ignorant ramble. I know back then it was you wrong who wronged you, but you are not a good person either. Otherwise, how can you become the leading prostitute inside the flower brothel in merely 5 years? If Lord Song were to learn of this matter, what would he think of you? Would he still marry you? Not getting angry, Bai Yan instead broke out into a fitting laugh. And who is it that told you this? You don't need to know who told me this, you just need to know I now control your deepest secret. His eyes gloomy as he states this. I originally wanted to keep this secret hidden away because of our bond, but now that you won't let the Bai house go, it's only fair I turn this around. Likewise, I won't let you or the Lawn house go. Watching the beaming confidence in the man's eye, Bai Yan's interest was honestly piqued here. So what is it that you want? She's not going to waste words here. Even if she denies the accusation, it's a certainty this dumb man will keep pushing the idea. If that's the case, she might as well pry out whatever plans he has in mind. I have already brought back Lan Yue's dowry, but I will also take them back with me in a bit. When the time comes, you can just tell Lord Sung that you've received them. From the very beginning, he had never intended to return these dowries. The reasoning for why he had gathered everything was mainly because of Ditsung's men watching his every move. But whether or not Bai Yan really accepted these dowries were another matter. That's something out of Lord Sung's control. Sneering, Bai Yan's gaze was full of ridicule. And why should I do as you wish? Because I know you are the leading prostitute of the flower brothel, that's why. Pompous in his posture, he confidently raises his chin. In addition, I also want you to tell Lord Song that the one from 6 years ago is your sister Ji and not you. Stealing the Dan pill. 3. Someone that doesn't put the interest of the Bai family ahead of everyone else doesn't deserve to be my son. Those from the Lan family aren't good people either. When Deetsang came to force us to return the dowry, none of them even came forward to say a single word. If even one of them said something, would Deetsang still insist on the matter? Gritting his teeth, Bai Zhengxiang's gaze turned exceptionally sharp. Raising a slight smirk, this was exactly what Yu Rong wanted to see. So long as her husband remains on her side, there's nothing to fear anymore from Bai Yan's end. This includes what happened in the past, it no longer matters anymore. Wife, you go rest first while I go pick up our daughter from the prison. Be sure to watch your body during this critical time. At the mention, the man's heart instantly started to hurt. Ji's been inside the prison for so long, I bet she must have suffered a lot. I just hope her face isn't harmed in any way, otherwise that's a big loss. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation, first giving a couple of instructions to the servant girls to care for his wife. Bai Zhengxiang then hurriedly ran off to the prison. Unfortunately for him, due to the lack of people to receive him, he can only wait outside the main door for someone to come out. This lasted from last night's evening to the very next morning. Lord Bai, why are you waiting here? The prison guard exclaimed as soon as he saw the panda-eyed man standing there. Twitching in the corner of his mouth, Bai Zhengxiang had to try extremely hard to suppress his anger at the question. Lord Song said as soon as I return the dowries, he will release my daughter Bai Ji. I've done as he asked, so I'm here to pick up my daughter. Now the prison guard was even more astonished in his eyes. But Lord Bai Ji had already been released a while ago, did you not know? What? Why did I not know, and why did no one from home come inform me? It can't be. I wasted the entire night waiting. Not looking good at all in his complexion, Bai Zhengxiang didn't utter another word. Instead, he promptly turned for the direction in which he came. And of course, there's no way he would be able to know that Bai Ji had in fact just been released from the flower brothel after being forced to take on the last customer. By the time he returned to his home, he just so happens to bump into the dispirited Bai Ji making her own way home from the opposite direction. Father! At the sight of her old man, Bai Ji's pent-up humiliation all came pouring out in one flow. Unable to keep her body upright, she loses her footing and fell forward to the ground with tears seeping out of her eyes. Ji! Screaming out this name in horror, Bai Zhengxiang rushes up to catch his daughter. What happened to you? How did you become like this? Bruised all over with her clothes in tatters, Bai Ji appeared absolutely horrible due to how pale her complexion looked. My daughter, I heard people say you've been abducted into the flower brothel. Tell me, is it Bai Yan who's behind it? Shuddering at the question, Bai Ji bites her lip before meekly responding, Father, I was inside the prison the entire time, not at the flower brothel. How can she possibly let anyone know about her horrific experience? Even if it's her own father, there's no way she can let anyone know. Otherwise, this man will surely abandon her too after learning she's of no value. Just recalling that nightmarish experience again, Bai Ji instantly became overwhelmed with weakness and closed her eyes in hope of forgetting it. Compared to the flower brothel, she would have preferred the punishment from the prison. Though the torturing sessions were painful, at the very least she would have remained intact. At the flower brothel, she could barely rest because of all the sickening men she had to serve. Then at night, that's when the true nightmares began. There were no ends to the things she was forced to do and take from the special parties organized just for her. In short, she's done things she never thought possible with her body. Whether it be inside or outside, something has definitely been broken. It's great that you weren't at the flower brothel. Bai Zhengxiang was definitely relieved to hear this. Only people like Bai Yan would sell herself to such an establishment. Such a place, it's better to die than to fall that low. Stealing the Dan pill. For, although Bai Zhengxiang wanted to send Bai Ji to Ditsang's side, but never once did he intend to have his daughter service another man to achieve this goal. In his view, whether it be pre-marriage or after marriage, any women who loses their virginity or go out to cheat can only die for repentance. Father, did you say Bai Yan and the flower brothel are related? Holding her breath, Bai Ji forces herself to blurt this question out using that remaining strength in her vocals. A frosty chill flashed across the man's iris. Bai Yan is the leading prostitute of the flower brothel, this is already a well-known fact. That girl really is Lan Yue's daughter. If not for her mother's good personality and wealth, I never would have married that woman back then. Lan Yue was known as the kingdom's #1 beauty. Both virtuous and kind, any normal men would have prized such a wife. But in Bai Zhengxiang's heart, there's a blemish that can never be removed. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Prior to their meeting, the dowager had always wanted Lan Yue to marry into the palace that even the king himself had once intended to make the woman his queen. Though Lan Yue in the end rejected the proposal, this man here still held the matter to heart and never once forgave the supposed betrayal. Due to Bai Zhengxiang's own anger, no one was able to notice the hatred spewing out of the girl's eye in this moment. Bai Yan. It is Bai Yan. It must be her, the reason why I was taken to the flower brothel and forced to go through that nightmarish hell. I will never let you go, Bai Yan. Daughter, you first rest and look after your wounds. Looking at all the injuries and bruises on her daughter's body, Bai Zhengxiang's brow inexplicably curled into a knot. We must remove these scars, otherwise, this will be a great shortcoming when you marry into the Tsang manor. Tsang manor. Stunned by her father's word, she depressingly lowered her head. Father, how can I enter the Tsang manor when Lord Tsang treats me like this? You don't need to worry about this matter, I have a way. All you need to do now is to look after yourself and wait for Lord Tsang to marry you. Raising a smile of confidence, he firmly reassures his daughter. Sure enough, a flicker of hope once again ignited in the girl's eye as a result of this. In her mind, so long as she can marry that man, she's willing to do anything. Undoubtedly, whatever plan Bai Zhengxiang had in mind was perfect. Pity though, before he could enact his scheme, another problem arose out of nowhere which causes him to regret for the rest of his life. On this day, Yu Rong's elder brother, Yu Fei, and his family had just arrived at the city when they came across an incident on the street. A youth had just lost consciousness and the one tending to the patient was none other than Bai Xiao. This should have been nothing too eye-catching, but Bai Xiao just had to bring out a Dan pill to help the youth after normal means didn't work. When Yu Fei saw that round beady object in the boy's hand, his eyes nearly popped out as a result of the shock. Without thinking twice, he slashed out with his sword at the boy's hand. If it were normally, this slash wouldn't be able to harm Bai Xiao. Unfortunately in this case, due to the boy's focus being entirely on the unconscious youth, he was unable to notice the attack until it was too late. As for those tasked with protecting the young lord, these hidden guardians were literally scared out of their wits. Due to the abrupt nature, plus how close the proximity it was, the best these people could do was resolve some of the power in that slash and deflect the trajectory so slightly. In the end, blood came spewing out of Bai Zhao's hand due to the bone-piercing cut. Sir Xiao. While one of the hidden shadows swiftly lands to tend to the boy, the other shadow made a dash for Bai Yan's place to report this. Stealing the Dan pill. 5. I'm okay. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, give him the Dan pill first, he's an acquaintance of mine. Yes, Sir Xiao. Following the affirmation, the man swiftly ran over to the unconscious youth's side. At the sight of his actions, Yu Fei's eye had gone red with fury. Stop. That is our Bai house's stuff, meaning it's my sister's belonging. Who gave you permission to use it on an outsider? How can Bai Xiao have a Dan pill? It must be stolen property. And even if he did obtain it with his own ability, he's a son of the Bai family, making his possession my sister's. Such good medicine, based on what can he give it to an outsider? If he's going to give it to an outsider, he might as well give it to me. Of course, this last sentence was the real reason why he wanted the pill. Father, that's a damn pill, I want it. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. The juvenile beside Yu Fei tugs at his father's sleeve, all the while staring intently at the beady object in the guard's hand. Father, Bai Xiao, this bastard must have stolen a lot of damn pills from the Bai house. I want them, I want them. A young girl also came out from behind and started shouting this demand. Father, on what qualification does he deserve those pills? It should be us, not this bastard. Hearing the words from this pair of brother and sister, Yu Fei's face also softened. All right, I will get them for you too in a bit, don't worry. Apparently this man and his children had no qualms about taking other people's stuff. Even so, the guard simply ignored him and stuffed the pill into the youth's mouth. How dare you? Yu Fei grew furious. You are but a dog of our Bai house, how dare you take what is ours and give it to an outsider? Just wait, once I let my brother-in-law knows about this, I will have him beat you to death. Since the man was willing to take orders from Bai Xiao, he assumed it's safe to believe this guard was also working for the Bai house. Hearing Yu Fei's words, the man's face immediately turned cold. No matter what, he's still a sky-class martialist, a being that would be looked on in awe no matter where he went. To think he would be called a dog here. Even if the chief of the Bai house were to stand in front of me, he would not dare be so presumptuous in my presence. The man known as the left guardian to his peers makes an ironic sneer, holding the other side in contempt with those eyes. Hearing this, Yu Fei instantly broke out into a laughing fit. You're but a little guard, how dare you put on a face in front of me? Against an insect like you, all I need to do is flex a finger and I can easily squash you. Left Guardian's expression was full of ridicule. Why is it that anyone remotely related to Bai Zhengxiang are always like this, like to seek their own death? Sorry, but I haven't fallen so low that I need to move my own hands to deal with you. Bang! As soon as these words came out, Yu Fei's body instantly flew out into the crowd like he's been pummeled in the chest with a giant fist. Who attacked me? Crawling up with rage in his eyes, Yu Fei's expression was very ugly right now. As for the man standing in front of Bai Xiao, he didn't even have him in his eyes. In this foolish man's view, if anyone had such great strength, they would already have left the Bai house and went to work under the royal family or some other similar power. Brother! It was at this moment a hurried voice broke through the air from the back. When the crowd turned around to look for the source, what came into view was Bai Zhengxiang and Yu Rong rushing over with their people. The strong robs the weak. 1. Yu Rong's face froze, her eyes widening in shock. What? It's not some spirit pill, but some medicinal healing pill. This bastard set me up. In the blink of an eye, Bai Zhengxiang also understood what's going on. He turned around to face the boy, his eyes filled with anger. Oh Bai Xiao, when did you become so deceitful like your sister? I don't care whether the pill in your hand is a spirit pill or a healing pill. As long as you are my son, then you must hand over your possessions to me for safekeeping. Looking at Bai Zhengxiang's righteous appearance, Bai Xiao tightens his lip at the sight. All of a sudden, an indescribable fatigue overtook his body. For so many years, he's been patient because he didn't want to lose everything that his mother so painstakingly worked for to be destroyed. This way, he will have the necessary power to back his sister in the future. That was his plan. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation, but now, he understands that with the shamelessness of these people, the Bai house will be destroyed before it reaches his hand. I, Bai Xiao, am fatherless and motherless. In this world, I only have one sister and a nephew. Based on what can unrelated people like you ask me of my possession? Damn you! Bai Zhengxiang roars out, scolding his son in full force. Is it Bai Yan, that unfilial girl, who instilled these thoughts into your head? You used to be so good, but now that your sister is back, you suddenly became so disobedient. Husband, don't be angry, let me have a talk with him first. Seeing how more and more people were gathering with no end in sight, Yurong knew things cannot continue like this. Hurrying over to her husband's side, she attempts to soothe that puffing chest with her stroke. Bai Xiao, you are a son of the Bai house, that makes you forever part of the family. In order to not let others deceive you, we have the obligation to look after your possessions. If there's so much Dan pill on Bai Xiao's body, how can they let him go? If they are not careful here, it might just fall into that bitch Bai Yan's hand. That's pretty much what's going through the woman's head anyways. There is nothing wrong with Madame Bai's request. As his parent, they are in their right to look after his finances and possession. Even if they did wrong him, that doesn't change the fact. Bai Xiao isn't his sister. Bai Yan may have been driven out of the family by her father, but the boy's name is still hanging in the clan hall. He cannot swallow these valuables. Like thorns, the discussion from the crowd directly pierced into his heart, hurting him to the point where his expression had transformed into the winter storm. Right now, never had he wished so hard that he's not a part of the Bai family. If that was the case, none of these problems would occur. You people want the Dan pills? Suddenly out of nowhere, Bai Xiao started laughing hysterically. Towards this strange behavior, Yurong somehow felt a chill running down her spine that she can't explain. Even if destroy them, I will never give them to such beasts like you people. What did you say? Yurong widened her eyes. Based on what can you destroy my Bai family's stuff? Based on what? Based on the fact that these are all given to me by my sister. She's no longer part of the Bai family, making these pills unrelated to any of you. Boom. I can't do anything if you keep saying I'm a son of the Bai house, then what about my sister? She was openly expelled by you people, now you got nothing to say, right? Bai Yan? Yurong snickered at the statement. She's nothing but a leading prostitute at the flower brothel, how can she possibly get her hands on such valuables? Are you taking me for a fool? Though the name included the word leading, but in the end, such an entity was nothing more than woman that's ridden by any men who can pay the price. An existence of the lowest level. The Heavens Chapter 183 will not tolerate, 2. Today, I, Bai Yan, will put my word out. The Yu family is dead, and whoever dares to get in my way will perish along with them. Bai Yan, you. Yurong was trembling, which causes her blood to seep even faster and draining all her strength along with it. Like his wife, Bai Zhengxiang was also staring intently at her. If one didn't know better, they might mistake this man as someone who's seeing an enemy who's killed his whole family. What are you staring at? Left Guardian was so angry at the man's attitude that he didn't think twice about slapping him across the face. Despite the humiliation, Bai Zhengxiang continues to stay silent with his face twisting into an ugly scowl that's no different from someone suffering from constipation. Even if he didn't have a brain, he did have enough insight to see that the foe was also at the sky rank in terms of cultivation. What's more, it's at the peak level, one tier higher than himself who's at the mid-level. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation Husband. Are you okay? A flash of panic exploded out of Yurong's eye as she glared daggers at Bai Yan. How can you let your patron treat your father like this? Turning even colder in her expression, Bai Yan didn't even look at the idiotic woman. Gao Yi, slap her for me. After this order, Gao Yi quickly appeared before Yurong to carry out the task. Since he was aching to do something of similar order to begin with, he didn't hold back at all. A brief while later, Yurong's mouth had swollen into a bruised lump of purplish red. Looking even worse than before, Bai Zhengxiang forcefully climbs back up and turns to his daughter. Bai Yan, no matter what, I'm still your father. Why must you be so cruel and refuse to listen? I only want you to repent and come back to the right path. Ladies and gentlemen, not giving Bai Yan a chance to speak, he continues, all of you come and see this. Look at how this good daughter of mine treat me. It's bad enough she's fallen in to become a leading prostitute at the flower brothel, she's now having one of her patrons humiliate her own family. Such a daughter deserves nothing but a miserable end. Not flinching in the least at the insult, Bai Yan only raised a smirk while letting the shameless man continue on with his rant. Sure enough, as more and more crowds gathered at the scene to listen in on his words, gasps and shock were hovering in the air. Oh heavens, did they hear it wrong? Bai Yan is the flower brothel's prostitute. The type that does on a regular basis for money? Just as everyone was astonished over the shocking news, an angry voice abruptly broke through the commotion. Bai Yan, I never thought you would be such a person. The voice was very familiar, so familiar that it caused her to raise a brow. Sweeping over to the source, Bai Yan can see it's the livid-looking Nan Gongyi, Crown Prince. How surprising, to think you would recover so quickly after 200 rods. Going green in his face, Nan Gongyi still haven't forgotten the pain from that ordeal. If not for his father's generosity of giving him a 4th-grade medicinal pill from the treasury, he would still be in bed moaning in pain. Unfortunately for this family, there were only 2 pills available. One was naturally for him, the other for his son. As for Bai Ruo, that woman can only remain in the bed due to her injuries. Humph, if I didn't recover so quickly, I wouldn't have known the kind of disgusting deeds you've done. Crunching his fists into a tight ball, Nan Gongyi's expression was very unsightly right now due to the anger burning in his eyes. If someone didn't know better here, they might mistake Bai Yan as having an affair behind the man's back. Ignoring the unrelated person, Bai Yan shifts her gaze back to her supposed father. I don't know who told you this lie that I'm a prostitute at the flower brothel, but I don't care either way. Maybe even in death you won't change that habit of yours in believing just any random lie. However, she smirked, raising an eerie chill in the air, you should never have harmed my brother. In this world, I will not tolerate anyone from hurting him. To heal you under the peach blossom tree located in the back garden, Bai Yan was currently sitting inside the pavilion holding a book in her hands. With her long legs curled up on the bench, the image of her serene figure was like a touch of life on this picturesque image. Just as she's enjoying her moment of peace and quiet, a rushed guard from the outside interrupts her reading by charging into the garden. Mistress, someone is seeking an audience with you. Closing the book, she calmly looks up to face the soldier. Who? He calls himself Bai Zhanpeng. Bai Zhanpeng. Due to unfamiliarity of the name, Bai Yan inexplicably curled her brow into a knot. Go let him in first. Yes, mistress. Receiving the order, the guard retreats to only return a short while later with the 2 extra figure in tow. It's you. Recognizing the younger male, she cries this out like a reflex reaction. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Miss Bai Yan, I hope you wouldn't mind me being so abrupt in my visit today. Raising a faint smile, Bai Zhanpeng attempts to help liven up his appearance. Sadly, due to that frail body and sickly complexion, there's no denying he's unwell. Slowly getting up, Bai Yan didn't hesitate to ask, I know it's my fault the other day in ping into you, but how did you find out about my place of residence? You've misunderstand me, miss, I did not come here to ask for an apology. Breaking out into a cough again, Bai Zhanpeng stubbornly forces a laugh to mask that outburst. I came today because I have a very good impression of you, that's why I'm visiting. If such words were to come out of any other random person's mouth, Bai Yan would no doubt mistake it for a flirting playboy trying to hit on herself. However, oddly enough, she didn't get such a feeling like it's a very good thing. Your body. After the brief interaction, she can tell the man before her was very sick and wouldn't have many years to live. This body of mine is already beyond help, and my trip away from home is also because I'm near my end. I want to find my long-lost sister so I can bring her home. When I saw you the other day, I felt like I was seeing my sister at my side again. Trembling in her heart, your younger sister, how old was she when she disappeared? By this year she should be closing in on 40 years old. I don't know how she disappeared, but 20 years ago she just never returned after an outing. Nearly 40. Then that means she didn't disappear while still in the cradle. Bai Yan was honestly a little disappointed here because she did have a tinge of hope there for a second. Your physical problem is very serious. If you don't mind the inconvenience, can I have a look? Loosening her tense brow, she bluntly asks. Young master, the elder standing beside the sickly man was very anxious after hearing the request. Just as he wanted to stop this, Bai Zhanpeng instead stopped him with a shake of the head. There is nothing to be inconvenient about. Miss, are you an alchemist? That's right. Without hiding her background, Bai Yan slowly stepped in front of Bai Zhanpeng and infused her spirit into the man's body for the examination. Shuddering at first over the intrusion, the sickly patient quickly relaxed himself after getting overwhelmed with a soothing sensation like someone bathing in the open sunlight. As nice as it was for Bai Zhanpeng, his follower on the other hand didn't look so well. Practically sweating down to his underwear, the elder was praying to the heavens that things would turn out well. The reasoning, if Bai Yan tried anything in this state, no one can stop her. Fortunately for this loyal servant, Bai Yan's spiritual intrusion only lasted for a short while before she pulled out. With a dignified face of a healer facing a patient, she asked, "Did you get seriously injured 10 years ago?" If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. To heal you, Bai Zhanpeng nodded. Yes, I was actually injured by my enemies 10 years ago. Then there's no mistaking it then. Though 10 years ago an alchemist managed to save your life with a Dan pill, but because he couldn't complete the job, your enemy's residual energy had continued to wreak havoc inside your body over the years. Bai Zhanpeng was stunned by the girl's ability to know this much. Making a wry smile, everything that you said is known to me, but I too know that if I forcefully remove the wisp of energy, it will cause severe damage to my meridian. If living means I will become a cripple, I would rather die than to lose my dignity. Who told you such a silly thing? Raising a smirk, Bai Yan shifts her sight onto the napping white tiger cub currently basking in the sunlight not far away on the ground. Little Rice, I have a mission for you. Without delay, Little Rice swooped into Bai Yan's arm and looked on with disgust at the sickly man. This human isn't even a great beauty. To think mistress would want me to suck out that wisp of energy from him, and oh way. 2 plates of dompa pork. Bai Yan grits her teeth to say this. Note, dompa pork is a Hangzhou dish which is made by pan-frying and then braising it until it practically melts to the touch. Making a childish snort, the baby tiger knocks his head up in refusal. I won't sell my dignity for merely 2 plates of dompa pork. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation, add in another roast suckling pig. Bai Yan continues. Flashing a spark in his tiger eyes, Little Rice was starting to sway from the temptation. I will personally cook your food for 1 month. Bai Yan decides to go all in. Sure enough, Little Rice was sparkling with stars in his eyes now. Without delay, he pats his cute little paw with Bai Yan's hand to seal the deal. All right. What H-I-T-T-Y dignity, in front of great food, it's all bulls. H-I-T. Plus I don't have to abuse my poor tummy now, not so bad at all. Getting what she want, Bai Yan turns around to face the sickly man. Go with him. He will suck out the wisp of energy from your body. This left Bai Zhanpeng and the old elder very surprised there. There are countless alchemists inside the medicine sect who couldn't do a thing against the wisp of energy, but now the girl can solve it with only a few words and a promise. Miss Bai Yan, Bai Zhanpeng's mouth carried with it a tinge of bitterness, this condition had been plaguing me for over 10 years. Even if you can remove the wisp of energy from me, my body will still fail after being destroyed so thoroughly. At best I will only have a few years to live. P.R.I.C. King her brow, Bai Yan thought nothing of the man's worry. Since I said I have a way, then there won't be an issue. If you trust me, then go with him. Young master. The old elder was anxious now. He knows, if the young master were to be given a choice now, he will surely pick to believe this unknown La.S. Young master, it's better to be safe than sorry. Bai Zhanpeng sends a questionable glance at the elder. I don't have much left to live anyways. What harm can there be in believing her? At that, the sickly man turns back around to face the baby tiger. Lead on. Meow. Calling out as a cat, Little Rice still had the look of contempt in his eyes. But before the tiger cub could leave, Bai Yan quietly gave him a wink to signal something. In response, Little Rice blinked his eyes to show he understood. Young master. In his urgency, the old elder wanted to follow from behind to only be blocked by the peerless figure. If you want to save him, then don't go. You, the old elder's eye was full of anger. If the young master is harmed in any way, we will never let you go. Not minding the rudeness shooting her way, Bai Yan helped herself back to the pavilion while they waited. Did my son return yet? She asks the guard nearby. Not yet, mistress. The young lord is out playing with his friends. I believe he won't be back until nightfall. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. With a stepmother comes a stepfather. Impossible, it must be a mistake. How could Bai Yan be the master of the flower brothel? Covered with jealousy in that glare, Yurong only had the girl in her eyes right now. How could she believe that? A girl that can easily be trampled by her 6 years ago would suddenly transform into a high and mighty existence, the master of the flower brothel. Even if the flower brothel were to submit to someone, it should have been my daughter Bai Ji and Bai Ruo. Why this bitch? That Hualuo has the worst sight in this world. Likely able to sense the fluctuation in the air, Hualuo shoots an ironic grin at Yurong. So you are my mistress's stepmother? It's as the old saying goes, if there's a stepmother then there's a stepfather. Though the charming woman's gaze was still on the bleeding figure on the ground, her words were meant for Bai Zhengxiang instead to the other side. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. If this was someone else saying this to him, the man in question would have at least refuted the claim. However, it was Hualuo, a being far superior to himself in standing. Heck, if there's a hole right now, Bai Zhengxiang would have squirmed into it out of embarrassment. Mother. Just as Bai Yan was slowly encroaching in on that pair of shameless existence, a sharp childish voice suddenly broke through the sky and caught her attention. Halting in her steps, she and the rest of the crowd all looked up to what's coming from above. It was a throne, a crimson-red throne pulled by 4 silvery wolves. With an enchanting yet arrogant smile, the man's silvery hair literally gave this man an almost surreal image, like he's an otherworldly existence gazing down at the mortals. But that's not all though. Sitting next to this man was another person, a doll-like child that raised no questions about his lineage. One small and one big, together they formed the stunning duo that can't be denied. Swoosh! The first to disembark from the ride was the white cat in the child's arm. Dashing over to Bai Yan's side, the creature first jumped up to lick the woman's face to show his delight before issuing out a bashful cry, meow. It must be said, after leaving the Holy Island, this little tiger cub had done an impeccable job of disguising himself as a cat. Sometimes, even Bai Yan would forget Little Rice was in fact a white tiger now. However, when the foolish tiger wildly ran into Bai Yan's embrace, he seems to have forgotten there's still a dangerous figure behind his back. In that same moment, Ditsang's expression was so dark that it looked like those eyes can shoot lightning at his target. Mother. Not to be outdone by his friend, Bai Xiachen also jumped off the throne and tottered over to his mother's side. With a lovely smile, the little steam bun softly said, I heard some people were bullying uncle, so we came. It's okay now, I can handle this. Gently rubbing the little boy's head, a genuine smile escapes the mother's mouth before turning up to Ditsang, how come you are here too? Evil yet seductive, Deetsung gave no doubt that he's in charge. How can I not come when my future brother-in-law is being harmed? Bai Xiao, who was still in the middle of his astonishment, abruptly started to twitch in his expression after hearing that sentence. For some unknown reason, his heart was having a very difficult time accepting that form of address from Deetsung. So who is it? Who's the idiot that's foolish enough to harm my future brother-in-law? Sweeping his threatening gaze across the onlookers, his eyes eventually fell upon Bai Zhengxiang in the end. Plop! Unable to withstand that level of pressure, the man immediately took to the ground and started shivering. Lord Song, Lord Song. Not waiting for Bai Zhengxiang to say another word, Yu Rong had already spoken out with that unrecognizable face due to all that sobbing and bruise. I beg you, Lord Song, please get justice for us. The crowd was baffled and shocked. This. It can't be. Did Yu Rong lose her mind from being beaten so hard? Lord Song is obviously here to protect Bai Yan and her brother. Why would she ask him to get justice? Child King, 1, where did this runt come from? I'm warning you, move aside. The leader of the guards swiftly drew his sword and swung it at the kid. As fast as that swing was, Bai Zaken only needed to partially tilt his head to avoid the blade with ease. Pursing his lip, he appeared quite dissatisfied. Mother told me I mustn't get physical under normal circumstances, so I won't fight with you people. However, making an innocent smile, I also have helpers of my own. Clipping his little fingers together to make a whistling noise with his mouth, Bai Xiaochen didn't need to wait long before a group of dashing red foxes came rushing down the street to attack the guards. Phew, phew. Huffing for air, Ji Xiaopeng suddenly shoots his head around while still pressing Nangong Lin under his body. Xiaochen, your family actually have so many foxes? This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Pursing his lips to one side, Mother told me Auntie wanted a fox, that's why I called for them. Since they were nearby after just arriving in the city, I figured they would be good for boosting our might. How can this be merely boosting our might? This is practically supernatural. Unable to close his gaping mouth, Ji Xiaopeng didn't bother to hide his coveting eyes that's twinkling with stars. Xiaochen, we are friends, right? Can you give me one too? Contemplating the idea, Bai Xiaochen uncharacteristically shook his head. That won't do. I promised Mother that I will let Auntie have a fox. Once she's done choosing, then you can pick. Not minding it in the least, Ji Xiaopeng was literally blooming in his smile. Okay. From now on I don't want to be your brother, I want to be your follower. As compensation, you must give me a female fox. Why a female fox? It's my father's fault. He said because I'm so fat and stupid, I will likely not be able to find a wife in the future. So, I figured if I can't get a wife, I might as well marry a female fox as a wife. To hear the chubby boy's hair-raising comment out of the blue, the foxes still scurrying around Bai Xiaochen's body instantly froze. In their haste due to fear, the female population in the fox pack swiftly made a dash to hide themselves. Ji Xiaopeng, look what you've done, you scared my foxes. Stabbing his hands against his waist, Bai Xiaochen gives his chubby friend there a friendly glare to show his discontent. Then, as if remembering something, he turns his head around to look at Nangong Zhuan. Do you also want to pick one? Biting his lip, the frail boy slowly replied, can I have a tiger instead? Why? Finding it strange, he quickly inquired for more info. Beaming a bright light in his eyes, Nangong Zhuan was surprisingly brave when he answered, a tiger is the king of the animal kingdom. I too want to become a king. Going dark in his little face, Bai Xiaochen refutes the claim, who told you a tiger is the king of the animal kingdom? What's wrong with a fox? Take Little Rice for example. That stupid cub can do nothing but suck. To my oppression. Oh wait, that's not right, it's suck. UMB to mother's delicious food. That's what I read from the books. Scratching his confused head, Nangong Juan didn't understand why his friend was so irritated. Am I wrong? Flashing a devious light across his iris, Bai Xiachen suddenly came down with a great idea. I can call for a tiger, but from now on you must say a tiger is inferior to a fox. Nodding earnestly, Nangong Juan was very happy over the deal. I promise you, from now on I will only say a fox is stronger than a tiger. Hearing that, Bai Xiachen finally nods with satisfaction. That's right, what tiger and lion, what dragon and phoenix. At the end of the day, all of them must squabble on the ground before a fox. Yes, boss, Nangong straightens up his back. Xiachen is so powerful, so his words must be true. What is a boss? Bai Xiachen innocently blinked his eyes. When did I become a boss? If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Child King, 2, did W.A.N.G. Xiaopeng not say by taking your demon beast, we will be your follower? A genuine smile floats out of Nangong Juan's happy face, and, I think that by following you, we won't lose out. Smacking his little head like he just became enlightened, Bai Xiachen proudly pats his friend's shoulder with glee shooting out of his eyes. That's right, follow me and you won't have to worry about not getting meat. Watching how easy his friend over there was able to toy with the newcomer, W.A.N.G. Xiaopeng, Chubby, was starting to get bored of his own fight. In one squat, he directly takes a seat on top of his victim. I'm tired, I need a break, so stay there. PFFF. Due to the heavyweight that's known as this chubby kid, poor Nangong Lin, bully, could only splurge out a mouthful of blood before losing consciousness. It's getting late, so I have to go back first. Mother is waiting for me to eat dinner. Not forgetting his new friend, Bai Xiachen attempts to drag the skinny boy away with him. If you go back to the palace now, I'm sure those bad people will talk bad things about you in front of Granny Dowager. Why don't you come with me to my home first? This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Surprisingly, Nangong Juan didn't hesitate in the least when he earnestly nodded. All right, I'll follow your words. Seeing this, the chubby kid resting there on his victim could only roll his eyes at how easy it was to kidnap the skinny boy. Hey kid, how dare you fall asleep in front of your boss Chubby here? W.A.N.G. Xiaopeng had rested enough. Climbing up, he didn't wait to give the unconscious bully a good slapping to knock him out of his coma. Truthfully, Nangong Lin didn't act there, he really did faint a minute ago. I'm warning you, Nangong Juan is under my protection. If you bully him again, watch and see if I won't drag you into a dark alley to have a bunch of men go at you. Knocking his chubby face up proudly, W.A.N.G. Xiaopeng only learned of this saying while he was eavesdropping on a ruffian trying to threaten a woman the other day. He didn't expect it to come in handy here. My father is the crown prince. Nangong Lin was shaking all over as he wept. Not affected in the least by that fat-ridden face, W.A.N.G. Xiaopeng sends another flurry of slaps across his victim's face to showcase his dominance. Who is the crown prince? My father, Pa. Another slap goes through. You can only say one word. Father. Only then did W.A.N.G. Xiaopeng toss the fat bully aside. That's right, good son. Now there was no holding back the tears for Nangong Lin. Never in his life had he been insulted and bullied to such an extent. Bai Xiachen, we're leaving. Patting his hands together to clean the dust, W.A.N.G. Xiaopeng only managed a few steps before he suddenly jerked to a halt. Turning around, starts asking with that twitching face, who did he say his father was? The crown prince, Bai Xiachen kindly answered. Immediately, the chubby made a mournful cry, O.G.O.D., I'm finished. Don't worry, as long as I'm here, his father won't be able to take revenge on you too. Patting his chest with confidence, Bai Xiachen sounds like his words are law. It's not that, it's my father. He will kill me if he learns of what I did. His father had repeatedly warned him not make trouble outside, yet he's done exactly that. Of all the people he had to hit, he had beaten up the one son belonging to the crown prince of the kingdom. It's all my fault. Seeing the pitiful appearance of his chubby friend, Nangong Zhuan attempts to take responsibility. No, it's not your fault, shaking his chubby head, I'm only getting a beating, what's the big deal? If anything, I will only lose a layer of skin. That bastard bullied you so he deserves it. G Xiaopeng may look like he's having second thoughts now, but even if he did know the fat boy's background and who his father was, he wouldn't have done it differently. Not like my old man will really beat me to death for something so small, right? Forget it, you two go back first. Waving his hand to shoo the two boys away, the chubby kid accepts his fate even if that face said otherwise. A bit uneasy over his friend's expression, Bai Xiachen offers his own form of help, I'll be next door. If anything, just yell and call for me. I will rush over to save you. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. This is my father. Relax brother, patting his friend in REA's assurance, G Xiaopeng went ahead by himself like a prepared inmate heading off for the death road. But as soon as the kid stepped through his home's doorway, a powerful hand had stretched over to grab him by the ears. Stinking brat, tell me, what sort trouble did you make outside today? Father, gentler, gentler. With a dead man's face, the chubby kid pleads for mercy. I didn't make any trouble, I really didn't. No trouble. If you didn't make trouble then why did you beat up the crown prince's son? Jidichio, father, snapped back at his son's lie. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation Talk About Fast. Seriously, G Xiaopeng didn't expect his father to catch wind of the news so quickly. Father, it's that bastard's fault. He's the one doing the bullying, I only stepped in because I couldn't watch anymore. At that, the chubby kid puts on a grievance face, and, my friend Bai Xiachen also had a hand in this. If you don't believe me, ask him. Loosening his hand from the brat, Jidichio suspiciously eyed his son, Xiachen also had a hand? It's true, that bastard bullied Xiachen's friend, that's why I couldn't hold back. Oh. If even Xiachen is involved then it can't be wrong, giving a warning glare to his son, in the future, you must follow his words. If he tells you to beat someone then go beat them, if he tells you not to then you mustn't no matter what, understand? G Xiaopeng was flabbergasted at his old man's order, Father, why is that I can only make a move when Xiachen tells me to? Can you promise that you won't hit me if I do? Not answering right away, Jidichio first gave his son a giant smack before continuing, Xiachen is such a good child. If he's willing to beat another child then it must be the other party's fault. As for you, you think everyone is like you that will attack others indiscriminately? This is my own father. The chubby here really had no tears left to cry, why do I feel like I'm adopted? Father, then the matter with me hitting the crown prince's son? G Xiaopeng cautiously asked, afraid he might take another beating from his father. Nothing but a son of a crown prince? So long as you didn't hit him wrong then it's fine. Scoffing it off like it's nothing, Jidichio then turned the topic back to his son, if you were half as good as Xiachen then we wouldn't have had to leave the clan, nor be forced to move to this place. Afraid his father wouldn't let him off once the ranting starts, G Xiaopeng was smart enough to sneak away while the old man wasn't paying attention. By the time Jidichio had come to his senses, that small chubby figure was already long gone, this brat, he really likes to be whacked. Back over at the old manor, Bai Yen was still busy reading her book in a leisurely manner, totally ignoring the unfriendly gaze shooting her way by the old elder. "Mother." A soft mellowing voice drifted over from the rear. By the time Bai Yen looked up to search for her son, Bai Xiaqin had already pounced into her arms to give the woman a heartwarming smooch on the cheek. "I'm back, mother. And guess who I brought with me, Nangong Zhuan." King her brow, only then did Bai Yen notice the frail-looking kid quickly running over. Apparently Nangong Zhuan was still somewhat uncomfortable. A bit stiff, his eyes revealed a speck of envy at his friend's fortune. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. "I'm willing to be your disciple." Bai Yen couldn't resist a laugh, he's still a child in the end. Xiaqin had always been lacking in company. "If able, do you want to stay by our side?" Looking on in disbelief at the woman before him, Nangong Zhuan almost couldn't keep his words clear. "I can stay? If you want to stay then no one can drag you away." Slowly getting up, Bai Yen revealed a welcoming appearance. "Also, I can see your talent isn't bad, just that they've been buried over the years. If you want, I can take you as my disciple. Are you willing?" In the eyes of the child, joy was overflowing. "Yes, I want to stay." Xiaqin, patting her son's head, "You go with him to wash up, I still have other things I need to attend to. In addition." In a flip of her hand, Bai Yen pulls out a bottle of medicine for the young boy. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. This medicine can cure your internal injuries. After you finish recovering, I will have you begin your training. Watching the precious bottle placed before himself, Nangong Zhuan didn't try to hide the strong level of emotions running through his eyes. Conviction quickly showed itself on the boy's face. "Shifu, in the future I will definitely stand at the top and not let you down." As per his vow, the young prince would eventually reach his goal while never forgetting the ones who changed his fate forever. "Nangong Zhuan, come, I'll show you to your room." Excited in his action, the little steam bun quickly ran towards the inside to show off his home. Watching the two kids enjoying themselves so much, as a mother and now a Shifu, Bai Yen couldn't resist breaking out a smile at the scene. Miss Bai Yan's eyesight is quite good. A complex look gripped the old elder's face. "To think you would come across such a talented sapling." Not showing humility at the praise, Bai Yen takes a sip from the tea handed to her by the nearby maid. "So you noticed it too? That child carries pride in his very core. Such apparentitude will no doubt give him a bright future, so how can I not bring him to my son's side?" Moreover, the kid was her son's friend. It's unavoidable that she will be more lenient when it came to children of this age group. Whether or not he can be extraordinary in the future is hard to say. What I do know is that he will need more than just luck. He will need a Shifu that's willing and capable to help him. Making a lamenting sigh, the elder then continues like he just missed a great opportunity. "I can see his strength is very low, so I may something he's been neglected for over the years." It's precisely as the old elder said. From the very day Nangong Zhuan was born, his mother had set away, leaving him all alone in this world. Even if a person was talented, it's useless if no one can be there to nurture it. Are you trying to steal him from me? Raising her head, Bai Yen looks on meaningfully at the tempted elder. I won't deny that I am somewhat tempted by the child's buried talent, but the current me don't have the energy or time. To me, the only thing that matters is my young master's well-being. Miss Bai Yen, I must give you this warning. If anything happens to my lord during the treatment, you won't be able to escape responsibility. Just as the old elder had finished his speech, Bai Zhanpeng, sick man, also arrives at the scene under the leadership of Little Rice. Unlike before, his appearance didn't look so weak anymore. Young master. Anxious to check up on his lord, the old elder was shocked to find how obvious the changes were. You're okay? Making a slight nod, by Zhanpeng confirms the elder's suspicion. The residual energy inside my body is destroyed. Because of how sudden this great news came at, so sudden that it caught the elder completely off guard, he didn't know how to react. It appears his suspicious attitude from earlier was a horrible mistake. Miss Bai Yen, turning around, the loyal servant makes a respectful bow. I apologize for my offense from earlier. Thank you for saving my young master. If it weren't for you, then, if you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.